Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 362, I think. Let's have a look. Yep, 362. We've got Roberts to present UFO cases. Hopefully we'll get a few people on today. A wee bit of a glitch start up there. Hopefully it's coming out alright. Charles is not with us again. We still don't know what's happened there. But I suspect the worst. Because I saw someone on Discord that didn't answer me, so I suspect it was a family member. Who's out there? Anybody? Say hi in the side chat. Looks like the counters haven't updated here. We finally made 900 subs on BitChute, just like I said. Within a week, we made the 900. Amazing. It's only growing faster and faster, which is where we need to go, especially on alt media. Hello, good to be back. I'll be back. Okay, you know the rules now. No hardcore swearing in the side, no trolling, no promoting fraud channels, and just have fun. Okay, looks like it's all started up alright. Here we got Tommy joining us today. What happened to you yesterday, Tommy? Yeah, better type up the side welcome message. Where's Area 51? Is he around? Okay. So he's 62. We're about to 400 before we know it, I guess. Sunday UFO cases with Rob. And I think we got some triangles. Which Tommy requested. So we're covering that today. And what's the other stuff that we're going to do?
Yes, there's the Cosford incident as well. The triangle case in England in is it 1994, I think, or 1993? I'm not sure now.
I can bring up this.
Yeah, and we got the Sacha Cristie story as well, which is a
yeah, I got
very
it here.
disturbing tale. Yeah,
got it up on the screen now. Cosford plus Sacha. That seems to ring a bell, that one. I thought we might have covered that one before. Wells, 1977. No, 1997, I mean. And Red Bluff, we've put that one off a few times. Let's push enter on that. So, any more people join us? We've got 3 watching apparently. Just me, Rob, and Tommy, by the looks of it. I don't know. Anyway. Remember, if you want to donate, you can through the Twitch about. And there you can find the Merc shop. We had added a few more to the list there, where you got back designs and front designs, and both front and back. I have ordered some stuff for myself. I will do an unboxing when it arrives. And yeah, you can just do the Stream Lads tab tip in here, which puts up a message with your donation from $1 upwards, and you get a Darts and Alien and whatnot. And if you want to be a monthly supporter from a couple of bucks, I think it is, more the merrier. It's a monthly donation. Consider doing Subscribestar. It's not a bad platform. Unfortunately, it doesn't pay out until I reach $150, so it's only halfway there. So we've got a wee way to go yet. But yeah, we've probably got some more stuff coming up. So yeah, where do we want to start here, Robert? I'd leave the spreadshirt stuff until Era 51 comes on, because I just want to show people what happened there with Plexx's order. But we'll leave that when Area 51 shows up. Hopefully it won't be too far away today. He might not show up at all. But yeah, they stuffed up his order really badly with the print. Are you there, Robert? You're not talking to me.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the go-ahead to start.
Yeah, well, we're started. Take it over.
Okay, then. Let's have a look at the latest UFO news and emphasis here on what James Fox has to say about one of his insiders. Left a link for you.
Let us know if there's any audio crackling. I know it's sometimes hard to hear if you're on a mobile device, but it's harder for us to hear unless we're listening on Google ourselves, which we don't. Okay. It normally goes wrong when we start playing videos, actually. It looks like it's taking a wee bit longer to come up.
There we go.
And what's this site? Project Unity.
Yeah.
So you want to play it all or a certain location?
Yeah, go ahead. It's only about 8 minutes long. I mean, some of it is about the 180-day bill and all that thing, you know, but we've covered that before, but it wouldn't be any
multiple social media platforms.
big deal to play it again.
Yeah, let me just so it's come up here. It's normally a bad sign. Let me just fix that. Now we can get to the corner. What's happened? Yeah, let me just check the volume levels on it.
To get the same information as those that do. First up, we now have confirmatory statements that the Senate Intelligence Committee language on UAP transparency has been included in the newly enacted Intelligence Authorization Act for 2021. The UAP language that was attached upon the request of the Senate Intelligence Committee, spearheaded by Senator Marco Rubio, is calling for an unclassified all-sources report on the UAP phenomenon. Former director of the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, Lou Elizondo, released a tweet congratulating those involved in getting the UAP language attached to the final draft of the Intelligence Authorization Act for 2021. And alongside Lou, we have former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, Christopher Mellon, who put out a series of tweets regarding the Authorization Act, saying that the newly enacted Intelligence Authorization Act incorporates the Senate Intelligence Committee report language, calling for an unclassified all-source report on the UAP phenomenon. This was accomplished in the joint explanatory statement accompanying the bill. Consequently, it is now fair to say that the request for an unclassified report on the UAP phenomenon enjoys the support of both parties in both houses of Congress. Assuming the executive honors this important request, the nation will, at last, have an objective basis for assessing the validity of the UAP issue and its potential implications. The challenge will be getting the myriad of Department of Defense and intelligence community components with pertinent information to cooperate. Christopher finishes this thread of statements off by saying, "I'm hopeful the new administration will rigorously execute its oversight prerogatives because the concern of the public and numerous military personnel have been ignored by the national security bureaucracy for far too long." Christopher also provides a link to the UAP language that was included within the joint explanatory statement that was attached to the Intelligence Authorization Act, and the very same link can be found in the description box below. Originally reported on by Fox News and now subsequently picked up by CNN and Sky News, the UAP language that was included by the Senate Intelligence Committee was able to pass through due to it not being directly inserted within the 5,593 pages of the Annual Intelligence Authorization Act, which included a $2.3 trillion COVID-19 relief and government funding bill, which was signed off by the President of the United States. But the UAP language was attached to the Authorization Act, not included within, and it subsequently was rolled into the massive bill, and once the President signed off on the Authorization Act, he was also by proxy signing off on the Senate Intelligence Committee's request for UAP transparency, which then triggered a 180-day countdown until the US government is required to deliver its unclassified all-source report on the UAP phenomenon. You can find links to the reporting by Fox, CNN, and Sky News in the description box below. Next up, we have an incredible article written by journalist Billy Cox, published on the Herald Tribune. Billy manages to uncover some of the mystery behind the former director of the Pentagon's ATIP program, Luis Elizondo, revealing personal insights from Lou, and even providing a high school photo of the clandestine counterintelligence operative who would eventually go on to direct a black-budget, top-secret program for studying the UFO-UAP phenomenon. It's well worth a read, and the link for this article can be found in the description box below. Following this, we have major breakthroughs in the scientific arena as room temperature superconductivity is achieved for the very first time. A team of physicists in New York have discovered a material that conducts electricity with perfect efficiency at room temperature. The catch is that the room temperature superconductor requires phenomenal pressures in order to prevent it from falling apart. We're not quite at the stage of creating perfectly stable room temperature superconductors that could further be utilized for global energy applications. However, this is a major leap forward, and we can only expect to see this technology exponentially improve over the course of the next few years, leading to novel forms of energy production at drastically lower costs than can be achieved with more traditional systems. If you want to read the full article about this latest scientific breakthrough, you can find the link in the description box below. Next up, we have a statement from the producer of the groundbreaking documentary film The Phenomenon, James Fox, in an interview on the YouTube channel Leak Project. This interview was conducted back in October 2020, but it managed to fly under my radar, and it's recently been picked up on the UFO Twitter sphere. James Fox says that he was told incredible information by high-level sources, including the fact that some of these non-human entities are already walking amongst us, and we are simply, for the most part, unaware.
You know, let me end with this, because I don't usually talk about this because it's just a little bit out there, and I try to maintain a very conservative viewpoint publicly. And obviously, you know, some of my personal beliefs might go beyond the comfort level of people that are associated with my filmmaking, and so I have to respect that, and I get it. They've got a lot more to lose, but I have met with very high-level people that really are in a position to know what's going on, people that have dumped millions and millions and millions of dollars into researching this stuff, people that you probably know about, that have shared stuff with me off the record that were so out there, I just went, you gotta be kidding me. This is really what you think is happening? And is this like speculation or conjecture? It's like, no, this is like research at the highest level. And it's like, I'll give you a hint, and that's about as far as I want to go with it. And look, I'm not endorsing this, and I'm not saying that I believe it. I'm just saying that the people that I heard it from are people in a position to know. Like I can't dismiss it because of the source. And he told me in no uncertain terms that they're walking among us.
If you want to listen to the full interview over on the Leak Project, you can find a link for that also in the description box below. Following on.
What do you think on that so far?
Well,
you know, I think James Fox is a wee bit too open from what I've seen on past stuff, on past shows, right? So I think he could be easy got at by like a Mr. Doty type person. So yeah, aliens walk amongst us. You'd think it would be easy to prove that, though, to get evidence of that, right?
Know. I mean, I wouldn't be. I don't think I'd be falling flat on my face on the floor if it were true. But I mean, how has anybody established this to be a fact? You know, he said research at the highest levels, and there's so many people in ufology at the moment, and I suppose it's always been the case as well, that claim to have these, high-level intelligence people as their sources, and we just don't know who they are. We don't know what the game is. It does concern me that some of these people might be getting played, and it's this.
Yeah, I just wonder if he's been listening to. Is it Bob Hopkins? He was the one for Aliens Among Us.
Oh, yeah,
I wonder if he's been talking to him or Peter Robbins, maybe, because he was his right-hand man, right? So maybe he heard it from them guys, because I know he does talk to Peter Robbins a bit. Where you heading? He's gone. Rex has some cool stuff on Leak projects. Some to woo-woo, yeah. It's alright just to make up stories, but to give actual evidence and proof of the claims, that's another thing, right? I don't know. I think somehow if there's walking amongst us, there must be a way to prove that, right? Someone must know how to videotape them or get a blood sample or something like that, you know, some DNA. If they're walking amongst us, then they've got to be like, they've got to look like us, right, with the same type of DNA, right? I know there are some strange looking people out there, which you sometimes wonder if they're alien, you know, they're so-called like 6'5" skinny beanpole type people. You think, where's the muscles on them? How do they manage to walk? You back with us?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought more people would be joining us by now. I'm not sure what's going on lately. We're getting lots of subs, but not many people joining us on the lives. Yes, so bright blue UFO crashing into the ocean. Well, we've looked at that and debunked it. It's just like a kite tail. Someone's probably fishing with a kite, and they've got a LED tail on the kite that's flapping around like a space snake. And the big splash in the water, I don't know. Who knows? But it could be something else that happened. Often you get two events that happen, which then they think it's one event that happened. But certainly,
put it this way: when UFOs are generally seen coming in and out of the water, there's never any big splash.
That's very true. So yeah, a big splash, a big well. Who knows? Meteorite do come down. I know that we saw some fireballs with Chinese space junk coming down, especially over Hawaii. But yeah, we suppose we could listen to the rest of the story here. But you can clearly see it's a lead kite tail. And of course, not sure.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah.
Not sure who put that news originally.
It could be that. Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely is once you enhance it. And
from this, we have a recent UFO case that caught the attention of various media platforms. The incident in question took place on December the 29th, 2020, over the waters of Oahu in Hawaii. Multiple eyewitnesses on the ground reported seeing a glowing blue object that streaked across the sky before crashing into the waters, with some onlookers managing to obtain video footage. Now, there has been speculation as to whether or not this object is simply a kite with LED lights attached, but for the time being, it still remains unknown. A link for the video and article will be in the description box below. A recent call to action by the newly established platform UAP Media
at least he was
UK
honest.
sees an extensive letter written by Adam Goldsack directed towards the UK's current Secretary of State for Defence, Mr. Ben Wallace. The letter outlines the seriousness of the UAP issue, highlighting the current state of response from the US government in contrast to the lack of response from the UK government or its respective defence branches. It is imperative that the UK government acknowledges at some level its active interest in the UAP issue, and if the UK government in actuality does not have any interest in or involvement with the UAP issue via any currently ongoing programs, then it is suffering from gross incompetence in relation to the reality that advanced aerospace capable vehicles of unknown origins are exhibiting exotic performance capabilities that are currently outside of the technological envelope of the human race, at least as far as we're aware, and these highly advanced unknown vehicles are also demonstrating the ability to penetrate secure military facilities and training ranges, and have been confirmed to shadow US Navy carrier groups and warplanes into active combat theaters in the Middle East. I sincerely hope that the Secretary of State for Defense, Ben Wallace, listens to the advice and studies the information presented in this letter, which has now been sent via numerous UK researchers, including myself, who want to see change in this country when it comes to the handling of the UAP issue. A link to Andreas's article on theunidentified.com, which includes Adam Goldsack's letter, can be found in the description box below. And lastly, although not directly related to the UAP UFO phenomenon, Surviving Death is a Netflix series that has been adapted from the incredible book written by investigative journalist and author Leslie Kean. This latest series takes us into the realms of consciousness, human awareness, and its apparent ability to survive what we see as physical death. Using credible first-hand accounts from various individuals, Surviving Death takes us on an emotional journey through the personal experiences of people who have interacted in some way with what they would consider to be an afterlife and its inhabitants. I'm happy to say I'll be having Leslie Kean on in the near future to discuss her book and this latest Netflix adaptation, Surviving Death. A link to the
We've
Netflix
seen so
trailer
many
for
shows
Surviving
over the
Death
years
and Leslie
on that
Kean's
sort of
book
stuff.
can be found in the description box below.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching this episode of You.
This repackaged again,
Go.
really, isn't it? Reincarnation, life after death. Although, I don't know if it's life after death or something else going on there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, we've all got to find out one day.
yeah, I don't know. I just don't know about it. It's kind of strange. I can understand that information could be stored within atoms, you know, in our body and DNA, and can be stored in the place that you live, even if it's atom level, right? How's the brain store so much information? It's just like a blob of jelly, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yet it can store trillions and trillions of bits of information. So it's got to be something more going on there. How the memory
Definitely.
stores the information. I think it's at energy levels of the atom. So once we understand how to get computer data to store down to atom levels, I think maybe we'll understand how the brain works, and then we'll probably have Terminator robots by then.
Well,
So yeah,
science tells us, you know, if the brain's an energy source, energy can either be created or destroyed.
that's right. So, you know, you get the reincarnation idea that somehow you go into this energy plane and just live on there, and then the body is just like a shell, and when a new baby comes along, people are selected to fill the body with a new personality, I guess, or the soul. But it's kind of funny, though, that the past memories would be blocked. You'd think there'd be if it was for real, that you'd have past knowledge. Especially if you lived 100 years and you're an expert woodworker. Why would you suppress that information of how to do wood carvings or whatever? Build houses.
According to some people, they do recall their past lives, like Shirley MacLaine, for example.
Yeah, but not skills though. Although people get knocks on the head and suddenly can play piano like a master. So there's some strangeness with it's tapping into some, not past lives, but just tapping into somehow the brain's managed to tap into that information field of the atoms of some guy that learnt how to play the piano 1,000 years ago, right? And suddenly he can become a master musician and play the grand piano or whatever.
That's certainly odd.
Yeah.
No muscle memory or anything, just comes from nowhere. I don't know. It's really strange.
So if souls were recycled, how come the population keeps growing then? So where's the extra ones coming from is the question.
Yep.
That if it was like the population sort of stayed constant level, then you could understand it. But to me,
yeah, it would make more sense then.
Yeah, it would make more sense then. But our population has always been growing, hasn't it? What was the population like back in 1900? I don't think it was that many billion, was it?
Oh no, well, 7.6 billion now. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it must have been half that back then. I think
I'd say so.
Probably even 1 billion. Probably would it be?
Well, I mean, you look at breakthroughs in healthcare, for example. I mean, antibiotics. Jesus, how many people would have died without them? And they weren't widely available until the 1940s, towards the end of the Second World War. Alexander Fleming.
Yep. Yeah. Well, looks like we're not going to have Area 51 join us, but I'll still keep that stuff to the end. Well, until he shows up anyway. Because he's the only one that's bought the hats with the logo on so far. So, yeah, I just want to point that out.
Okay, then. Shall we get on with Sacha's story then?
Yep, this is progress on.
This is a stunner. And, I actually felt quite disturbed just reading this. I'm really grateful that she shared it with me, So I don't think it was in the public domain until recently. Maybe she'd only shared it with friends and family. And anyway, here we go. There's your link.
It's a long one.
I'm just gonna get a refill, Paul.
I might have to check the volume levels. Yeah, there's a lot of reading. I'll just see if it works. Oh, what's that coming up? I didn't choose anything to print, did I? Read out loud.
Friday, February 2nd, 2018. A group close encounter, UFO.
I didn't read the top. What happened there? Something crazy happened there. Sounding loud here.
Without a pause. Friday, February 2nd, 2018. Investigator, agenda bender, Truth FINDER, writer, speaker, artist, web addict, and red pill rebel without a pause. Friday, February 2nd, 2018. A group close encounter, UFO landing in Wales, February 1997. 21 years ago on the 4th February, I had an encounter with a group of friends in Wales. We saw 2 UFOs, one of them landed. Every February I get the anniversary jitters. I hate this week. I can feel it coming before I even know the date. It is like some internal alarm goes off. I remember one weekend about 7 years ago, having a total breakdown over it at a crisis center in Leeds, and didn't even realize it was the anniversary of the event I was in bits over. My friend who was with me during the initial event was having a breakdown. She was in Spain, and flipped out on the same weekend and contacted me. I didn't realize until later, we both had a breakdown on the same day without even knowing the date it all happened. Steve was the only person who knew the date. I couldn't remember until he told me later. I am sat in the crisis center this particular night, having emptied myself all over this poor woman. I went for a cup of tea afterwards in their kitchen. I looked at my phone because I had been crying. There were people around. I just tried to vanish into my phone. There was a message from Danya which she had just sent, saying everything to me that I had just downloaded on this poor woman who worked in the crisis center. Thankfully she was Sikh and had beliefs that meant she could accept what I was saying. I was lucky, but I didn't care. I was so overwhelmed I just had to empty myself of it. Lock me up, I don't care anymore, I can't live with this. It was 1997, the first weekend in February. My boyfriend at the time was a guy called Steve. We used to go to Wales for rides out of the bike. We had stayed in cottages and camped. This particular weekend we went to Wales in Steve's Uncle John's car with Danya, Steve's sister. Danya had her son with her, and I had mine with me. They were aged 4 and 5. We drove for miles in terrible wet weather. I had no idea where we were going. Wales was all I knew. We were driving through fog a lot for the final part of the journey. It was truly grey and miserable, and we couldn't wait to get out of the car. Finally we reached our destination, a cottage in a village called Glyn Siriag. I think the house is called Cairnfern. Nice house. It had big outhouses full of old farm kit, lots of tins of nails and boxes of rusting things. We had a quick nosy around the property outside. Inside it was lovely, a couple of living rooms, a games room, nice big kitchen. The best bit was the open fires. I remember we didn't know where the axe was, so we were jumping on branches to snap them. It turned into a game, because one of them was very springy. I don't really remember much about the Friday. It was just a travel day, settle in, have a nosy. On Saturday I remember us walking to the shops. I was completely irritated by something. I don't even know what. We all were a bit odd that day. I remember walking ahead of everyone. I was probably hungry. I am a ratty bag when I am hungry. That's about as much as I can recall of the daytime. It was about 7 to 7:30 p.m. on Saturday night. I was upstairs in the bedroom. I had my bag on the bed in front of me. I was taking things out of it to go have a nice relaxing bath in the overly pink bathroom, when I heard Steve calling my name urgently. Because the children were loud and shouting, I thought something was up, so I ran downstairs to find the children just playing. Steve was poking his head into the kitchen doorway from outside saying, "Come here quick." He probably said something else, but that's is what I remember. So I went outside with him, and we walked over to the wall by the outhouses, and he pointed at the sky, and said, "Look, there are some lights in the distance," and pointed off to, I'll say, 1 o'clock, so we know the angles so you can picture it better.
Okay, Glyn Siriog, it's in north-east Wales. It's not too far from the Berwyn Mountains. Do you remember that incident we covered from 1974 where there was a purported UFO crash there?
How do we spell that again? Borwin.
Oh, don't go looking too hard for the map now. It's in northeast Wales. It's not far from Chester either. We're looking at about 80 miles from my location.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why you're looking in Ireland.
There's Wells.
Okay.
Um,
So you can see Chester there. Yeah. That's just over the border in England. You need to go up a bit, Paul. There we go. There's Chester. You can see there. So it won't be too far from there.
can't see any mountains. Not on that.
Oh, there's, trust me.
Yeah, there's a picture of mountains there, though.
Yeah.
Okay. So, mountains.
Yeah, you need to go west a bit now.
There's like a mountain range here.
Yeah, there's.
And what's that there? It's got strange names, this place, look.
Sure has.
Luffion Angel. Glen Bluff.
Anyway,
I don't know.
There's your general location.
Yeah. Is that where you're saying it was? Let's see. Snowdonia National Park.
Snowdonia, yeah.
There's a lot of mountain ranges here too. That means surely there must have been like a big earthquake fault line around about there.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think, anyway.
Yeah, I think it's actually on the outskirts of Wrexham, to be more precise.
Can't see that on the map here.
Yeah, you need to zoom out. There's Wrexham. There you go. Below Chester, south of Chester.
Yeah.
So that's we're there now, more or less.
Alright. Well, it does look like it's got mountain ranges all around it. But
Yes, it has, yeah.
carry on.
Yeah, please.
Looks like it rains a lot there. It's very green. Very green in Wells.
Constantly rains.
I am looking out and all I can see is a thick low blanket of cloud. It wasn't raining, but it was heavy cloud cover, and
There
was
you go.
really, really low. For a long time after that night I couldn't understand why the clouds were so low. I thought I'd exaggerated that in my mind. I had forgotten in the aftermath that we were on top of a mountain. So I am looking but I couldn't see anything for a while. He continued to point. I followed his finger trying to catch on to his line of sight, then I see it. A little squiggle of light. It came on and went off. I immediately said it's lightning. He said it's not, watch it, so I stood and looked and watched. Sure enough, the lightning came back on again, and went off, then back on again and off. After I saw the lights a few times it became obvious whatever it was had a very uniformed pattern to the way it lit up, and it was moving away from us towards Merseyside. We were in North Wales 5 miles from Berwyn. After some minutes, maybe 5 minutes, it stopped. It stayed where it was but the flickering remained the same. After another minute or so we saw that it looked bigger than before. It was just a tiny flicker before, now it looked larger and brighter. It was then in a completely different place. It had moved in a diagonal motion towards us, then it moved in a diagonal motion away from us, then again towards us. It repeated this as it slowly zigzagged towards us. When it was directly at 12 o'clock it was huge. We had to look from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock to see the lights end. To me it looked like an enormous jellyfish rippling bright white, but gentle pink, yellow, and hints of green through the clouds. I don't think the craft itself was a mile wide, but the lights it emitted were spreading to at least that. I have had people ask me, how can you see lights in clouds? How can you see lightning in clouds? If it is bright enough you will see it. This was very, very bright. It made the clouds look like mashed potato with light beaming through it. We could see the different densities in the clouds as the lights rippled. The way the lights flickered out sideways through the clouds gave it an undulating effect, like a jellyfish's tentacles in water. By this
Almost sounds
time,
like
all of us
lightning,
were
though.
outside. It was exhilarating. We were all literally awestruck. It came closer at an angle and eventually was above the field, which was to the left of our original position, where we had been looking out over the forest. It stopped over the field, opposite the house now, still in the clouds, still rippling this bright light. It then drifted so slowly you would hardly know.
That sounds very similar to the Close Encounters. Remember the UFO was surrounded by the cloud and it was all lighting up like lightning? I think it was Close Encounters, wasn't it? It's been so many movies.
Could well have been, yeah.
But yeah, often you get those type of clouds in Australia when I was there. The lightning goes through the clouds rather than towards the ground like normal lightning that you see. And it sort of lights up.
I've seen that, Paul, but you know exactly what it is. You know it's lightning.
Yeah, it's all sorts of colours too. It goes blue, pink, and white. And so it looks like a plasma ball, right, through the clouds itself. I suppose that's why Tesla liked it so much.
Notice it moving until it was directly over us. We all stood gawping up at it in complete disbelief. None of us spoke much. I noticed that the sheep were all lying down and silent, something Steve noted too, but we didn't comment at the time. We spoke of that later. I know Steve went inside and left a message on the answer machine of the house we shared with others telling them what was happening. He didn't call the police or the airport. No such thing occurred to any of us. In fact, our behavior throughout was as bizarre as the event itself. We are all standing there looking up. I remember John stating it's the Aurora Borealis. I laughed and said in Wales. I remember turning to my right to look at Danya, who was stood on a wall that was about 2 feet high, a border of sorts. Her eyes were so wide and her face lit with this very blue yet white light. I can remember Steve being to my right slightly behind me, also standing on something, a large rock of some sort I think. He was just stood staring. My son was by my side when I saw an orange strobe light on the wall of the house to my right. It flashed rapidly, bright orange. I turned to look and there was a large sphere on the ground. Tall enough for a man to get in. It was emitting steam or mist which was swirling all around it as it pulsed a very dull gray light every couple of seconds. I said, "Oh look, another one." It was given very little attention. We continued to look up and forgot all about the sphere. As we stood about staring up in disbelief, not knowing.
That almost sounds like a Bermuda Triangle story, doesn't it? Where you get the lightning and funny clouds happening, and out pops the plane or whatever, the ship.
It's almost like a portal opening up, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was Independence Day, the lightning with the big mothership, and it had the cloud cover around it, causing a lot of static or lightning effect. But interesting. So some people could say that sounds almost like a portal opening up through another multi-universe, and the craft comes out causes electric field effect, and out pops all the spheres with the actual vehicle, right? So it kind of almost sounds like Keatsburg, I suppose, in that sense.
Knowing what to do, not even thinking what should we do, just standing there empty-headed looking up. My son tugged hard on my clothes. When I looked at him he was terrified. His hair was shaking, his eyes were wide. He said, "Mummy, Mummy," a hand just came through the hedge and touched my foot. It wasn't my imagination, I saw it with my eyes. I thought I was the hedge, but it was a hand. At that point you would rationalize the situation by looking over the very small hedge, wouldn't you? You'd think so, wouldn't you? I didn't. Neither did Steve. I don't know why, the thought never entered our heads. Steve was right behind me at this point. I turned and said, "The kids are getting scared," and Steve said, "Come on, let's get them inside." I still can't to this day figure out why I didn't look. If my son said there was a monster under his bed, I would prove to him there wasn't. But nothing we were doing could be considered normal. We were not switched on at all. As we turned to the others, we found John with Danya's son, and the axe for chopping wood. He was hacking into the door frame of the woodshed, distracting Danya's son, his nephew, from what was going on. I think he was doing it for himself as much as the child. I think the children were the only ones who were switched on, and had any idea of the potential danger we were in. We gathered ourselves together, and went back into the cottage. As soon as we walked through the door, it was like nothing had happened, like we'd watched some fireworks and got bored. John and Danya walked straight into the living room to watch TV. The children went back to where they were when I came downstairs, and started playing again like they hadn't skipped a beat.
Did they draw any pictures?
Steve picked up a dishcloth and started drying the dishes. I just looked at them astounded.
You would have thought so if they were behaving normally, but something's thrown them into complete confusion here. Their behaviour just doesn't match the situation. And Sacha is well aware of that and still can't get a head around it to this day.
But still, you'd sit down and everybody.
You know, why go back in? No, you would. Well, no, you should. That's what you should do, Paul. But that's not what they done.
What's it fresh in your head?
As if nothing had happened. This happened in other abduction scenarios as well, you know. When people should have been talking about what had just happened, but they just carry on as normal. And then they look back at it years later, and they just can't understand that they behaved the way they did. It could be the brain's way of blacking out the situation. It's what they call a coping mechanism.
Yep. Who knows?
Yeah.
But they've had plenty of years to get over it. They still might be able to remember, even though it's not fresh in their minds, what the sphere looked like and any designs on it, or.
Well, no, it was never that clear, was it? It was more of a light show than it was a structured craft, from what I can tell. The good thing is there's another witness coming forward.
Yeah, but she said a sphere popped down onto the ground next to the house, wasn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Landed.
Which kind of makes you wonder why there wasn't much more detail about the sphere, whether it opened up a door and stuff like that, right? Seems to be something missing there in the story. But, I suppose we better carry on.
Astounded. What the hell were they being so weird for? Not even registering that the whole thing was weird. Thinking my next actions were entirely normal and suitable for the occasion, or not thinking at all more precisely. I looked at them as if they were crazy. I said F***CK this. I'm off back outside. And promptly marched back outside on my own, shaking my head in disbelief at their behavior. This still makes my head go cold 21 years later. I marched up the garden path without any thought. No thought to my son saying he had seen a hand, no thought to any kind of danger. I was so totally enthralled in what was happening, I wasn't in the least bit afraid. Far from it, I was excited. I walked past the end of the house, looked at the sphere on the ground, which had stopped pulsing, and was just a very dull gray. I can remember shaking my head from side to side in disbelief, but still was totally unafraid, totally switched off. I walked up to the object that had drifted over to us. Its central circle of light was about 60 feet across. It was so brilliantly white, but when it hit the surface of anything, the light was blue. Going outwards from the central circle of light were lines of light, like fluorescent strips. With the central circle of light, it looked like the underneath of a mushroom, white circle in the middle, fins going to the edges. The lights rotated one way, and at the very edges of those fluorescent strips was a tiny light that went the opposite way. It was so very bright, but I didn't have to shield my eyes against it. There was no sound, it was utterly silent, as was the sphere, which had perched itself under the overhang of some trees at the back of the house somehow. I stood there looking up at this light thinking, now what?
So she described it there. It'd be easy to just draw a picture.
Now, she may well have drawings, Paul. She may well have.
Have you searched?
Have I searched it? Paul, I only heard this story for the first time. I think it was Thursday that she posted it to my group.
Well, we can have a search
In
a minute.
I've had no, Paul. You won't find anything. You won't find anything.
You sure?
Positive.
Well, it's on a website here.
This story was not in the public domain.
But if it's on a webs page, surely it would have got crawled at some stage.
Yeah, it's an article that she wrote at some time, yes. You'd have thought maybe she could have put drawings in with the article, but I don't know. I didn't want to question her too much on it, you know. I was just really grateful for the story.
Mm-hmm. You should have gone and interviewed her.
Oh, jeez. I don't think she's in the mood for that kind of thing. Do you know, this has left a deep scar, you know. Anyway, do you want to carry on with this and talk about that more at the end?
What? This is crazy, I can't believe this, you know, that kind of thought pattern. Still completely oblivious to any danger I might be in. No one in the house came after me saying, "Are you mad? Don't go out there alone." As I am standing there in this switched-off state of incredulity, in 4 seconds flat everything changed. Forever. What I heard haunts me to this day. I have tried to rationalize it, but there is no way to do so. Behind me was patch of dirt, the ground was hard-packed mud, there was no growth of any kind on it, it was winter, wet, it was just hard-packed earth, a chicken wire fence at the property boundary, and the forgotten about, again, sphere. What I heard was 2 bare feet running towards me, fast, then I felt something bump into my lower back as if it was running past me, it dragged my jumper with it.
Ooh.
I don't know what it was or where it went because to my left was a 4-foot stone wall, in front of me was the hedge. My son said he saw the hand, there was nowhere for whatever it was to go, I'd have heard it hit the wall, it was that fast. I don't know what it was that touched me, a sheep would never come near me, it would run away, but the sheep were all subdued. I think there's a clue in that because we were all subdued, well until that moment anyway. It was like I had been hit by a truck. If you have ever had that full pulse of adrenaline.
Yeah, so the article is 2nd of Feb 2018, so it has been around for a while. I'm just thinking where this has been published.
The hand.
Yeah.
Could be a large spider.
Come on, in Wales.
A multi-universal spider.
Well, it has to be.
Well, maybe it escaped from someone's collection. Who knows?
God.
Yeah, well, you got a huntsman spider. They're pretty big as dinner plates. They do run pretty fast.
The UK, they're not. Good
well,
God,
you
they're
don't know.
Paul, I live in Wales. They're about as big as your thumbnail.
No, you don't know if anyone had a pet one over there.
Oh, come on.
Well, it does sound like something that moves very quickly, touches you. Doesn't necessarily have to be a hand, or it could be something that looked like a hand. Spider.
She
big
said
spiders.
it tugged on her jumper. She said it tugged on her jumper. That's a funny spider, that.
I don't know. You ain't seen the Australian ones, mate. They can tug on things. Yeah, they can kill rats and all sorts of things, birds, and eat them. Anyway.
There's obviously something going on here that's well outside the norm.
Yeah, but if it's interdimensional, right, multi-universe, it could be a type of creature, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? Often we hear about aliens being insect-like, so why not some fast-moving little critter, So who knows, really? More for Doctor Who, I guess.
adrenaline in your body, you will know that it literally feels like you have been hit by something hard and heavy. I was running before I even realized I was running, but I couldn't see anything. I had gone blind. I couldn't see a thing and just kept running. I wasn't fully aware of anything. This was pure flight, abject terror. I was literally running for my life. I don't know if that was what was called hysterical blindness in the war. People have suggested I was abducted. The tug was me going up into the craft. Then I hit the ground running with some kind of mental block in play from the aliens. Well, I don't say that because I don't know if that is true. I didn't see anything. I was blind. I remember what I heard, and it sounded like my son running across his room at night. That kind of quick run, grab a toy and leap into bed quick, and pretend to be asleep after being told about 10 times to stay in bed. That's exactly how it played out. Rapid, small, fast slapping sounds like little legs running, bare feet slapping on mud.
Ooh.
I literally ran for my life. I can't explain to you how that feels. Suddenly I felt danger. Suddenly everything about the situation felt dangerous. We were in grave danger. I was panicked. I ran into the house and saw the children and stopped dead. I just stood there freaking out without moving. I quietly told Steve something just came up to me and touched me. His response was to look at the clock on the cooker and said, "Well, you haven't been out there long, so you haven't had any missing time." Like that was the most normal thing to say. That was the end of me after that. Everything was super surreal. Everything was too loud, too bright. I was panicked beyond belief. I made him lock doors, close curtains. I wouldn't go to the toilet alone. I was so utterly freaked out. I remember we had somehow got the kids to bed. I was sat in the middle of the bed and couldn't put my feet on the floor, like a child frightened of monsters under the bed grabbing my ankles. I remember Steve looking out of the window. He shut the curtains, didn't say anything. I didn't ask. Eventually, somehow, I don't know how or even why, but we went to sleep. The next day was awful. Everyone was at each other's throats. John was foul. Danya was screaming at me. We decided to spend the day apart. It was so bad in the end Steve booked a taxi and some coach tickets, and we sneaked off at 5 the next morning, got the taxi to Wrexham, and got the coach back to Leeds. We never said a word to them. It was that bad. I found out 13 years later when we found each other again on Facebook that John's car wouldn't start. They had to stay another night. John was being strange. Danya was terrified. It was a horror show from start to finish. The vehicle recovery agency he was with came out the day after that and the car started. It was fine. We didn't report this to anyone. We didn't really tell many people. It had a permanent effect on us all. In the immediate aftermath, I couldn't go anywhere if the lights weren't on. I would open doors to rooms so fast if anyone was behind it they would be seriously injured, and I would hit the light switch at the same time. We had a bend in the stairs, and one day I remember reaching the bend, and the landing being dark, so I went back downstairs again to put the light on. My relationship with Steve didn't last long after that. We were all too wrecked. I was especially traumatized. No one could understand the change in me. It was drastic. Even my mum in frustration one day shouted at me, "You've never been the same since you went to Wales." She was right. I have never been the same since. None of us have. When we found each other after 13 years, I was relieved. I had been singing this song alone on the net for about 5 years. I hoped for 2 things originally. I hoped that first of all Steve was going to have found some easy explanation and tell me it didn't play out as I remembered. I had over-exaggerated everything in my mind, and there would be a feeling of comfort, something I hadn't had since that moment. All ideas of safety gone. No lid on my life. Nothing from the top of my head to the furthest reaches of space. There is no bubble. It doesn't matter if you lock your doors, or have the mightiest military in the universe. But he said it played out exactly as I remembered. When you see something like that, and you are not a UFO researcher, or anyone from the military, who might know of secret craft, your perceptions are that's a spacecraft with aliens in it. Your perceptions are completely automatic and nothing conscious. To us that was an alien spaceship, the small one came from it, and had occupants. Those are the perceptions. It traumatized me to the point of eventually being suicidal. It was a slow disintegration of my psyche. I didn't know what life was anymore. Everything I knew was a lie. I thought the government know about this, they are letting this happen. All of that stuff. I knew nothing. I wasn't a UFO researcher, I was a 27-year-old woman with a child who worked in kitchens cooking food. It doesn't matter if I now suspect we have that kind of technology, it doesn't matter if I now concede that could have been terrestrial. I knew none of that then. The second thing I'd hoped for was he would speak out too. Now I think that's the worst thing anyone can do to themselves. After all, nobody really cares unless you allow them to sell you for their own profit. I see it happen to people all the time, this isn't exclusive to me. It's not my whinge, it is just the way it is. John didn't survive himself, he died maybe 6 years ago now. I came close, we have all struggled. The one thing that struck me though is that I was the only person who went outside and had that fight or flight moment. Even though John was obviously freaked out, they all seemed to take it in their stride. So it was a total shock to me to find out that everyone had been utterly traumatized and that John was dead. I have seen and spoken to both Danya and Steve. Initially I did hope they would want to share their side of events. Steve does, he told me he wanted a polygraph and hypnosis and all of that because he wants to know what happened to us. He wants to know if there is more from when we went to sleep. He wants to prove to the world this really happened. This is what he has said, but in reality, I don't think he does because he would have by now. I am not sure that we can have any answers, any closure. Hypnosis is dangerous. How would you cope with other memories if you can't cope with the memories you have? I certainly do not wish to traumatize myself again. I have just about learned how to live in my own skin. As for Danya, I think it would be one of the worst things she could do to herself. To her life. She isn't like me, she isn't a tough old boot, she's really quite refined and gentle. She certainly could the abuse of the internet, or her normal life being turned upside down by this, with possibly people around her thinking she has gone completely mad. I have stayed in touch with them, but I don't badger them about this. I figure if they have something to say in public, they will say it. But they do support me and they can see the way I have been treated. Why would they want to be treated this way? If anyone was truly interested in these things, and there was respect in the community, there would have been a 4-witness account available of a situation with 2 UFOs where one of them actually landed. As it stands, it isn't worth the risk to their personal health and well-being. They can see that people try to bully me over me not being professional, when why should I be? Just because I speak in public? Are they to be professionals too to come forward? Professional UFO researchers? Professional speakers? Witnesses aren't good enough these days unless they are all polished and ready to speak at a conference and do the radio circuit. There are no professional counselors for these people, they are thrown to the lions. The UFO community tells me by its behavior, it wants personas, not real people. If I was a polished persona, then I'd be part of a clique I really don't care for. Well, I am who I am and I am what I am, and as far as I am concerned the only thing that matters is the event, and the data that can be gleaned from the event. That doesn't seem to matter anymore, but I also am castigated for even mentioning it. Being observational is playing the victim apparently. Pointing out my experience of the UFO community, which is the exact same as everyone else's, bad, means I am playing some sort of victim mentality. Well, if I was ever a victim of anything, it was that night in February 1997 on a mountain in Wales. We were all victims. Victims of either humans playing with secret technology, who did all of that to us on purpose, or it really was something from somewhere else with extreme foreigners at the controls. Now it seems to me more likely it was terrestrial than extraterrestrial, but on that day, in that moment, our whole worlds came crashing down on us. We had to rebuild ourselves with what was left of us. We have no lid anymore, no sense of surety in anything. No sense of safety or security, absolutely no safety net at all anywhere. The sky fell in on us. It makes you question everything, including your own sanity every single day. That's what something like that does to you. Then you try and tell people about it. Well, you all know how that works out for everyone. So there you have it.
It could be like
Yeah.
a military experiment. Heard of MK Ultra, right? Where they used
Yes.
drugs and stuff, and it made people climb trees and go crazy and stuff. Kind of sounds like that almost. What she's
Yeah.
describing there.
Suicides, yeah, long-lasting effects.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure why she leans that way. I was kind of, as I did talk to her after she posted the article to my group, but I didn't want to push too hard, you know.
Yeah. It's
So,
like
but
almost.
I'm leaning towards something more ET than I am military experiments, to be honest, because I don't really know how you'd kind of fake that kind of light show, and I don't know. It could have been a massive dose of LSD or something. Were those things really there, or was it just an illusion? Either way, it was real to them. I fail to see.
Well, if you did let off,
military.
if you did let off flares, illumination flares inside cloud cover, right? It would look strange, I guess. But maybe
how? If it was some kind of military experiment, surely they would want to monitor the people.
Or maybe they
that
are
they affected.
secretly, you know.
Yeah.
Say that there's like a sort of flares drop into clouds, and they actually got little canisters of chemicals that sort of sprayed down over a village where they wanted to do a test run. Because they've done it before, haven't they? We're suspicious of maybe the experiment was done in South America where they were getting attacked by lasers and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
There was an island there. What was the island? Coralis?
Yes, it was the Calabas incident that happened that happened over 8 months, something like that.
Yeah, but it could have been like a really long experiment, like MK Ultra, right? So
and the
make people,
Brazilian military were called in.
Yeah. So if you can make people hallucinate that there's an alien invasion happening, you could easily conquer them, couldn't you? But anyway, who knows, really?
But yeah, it actually says here, whether you will ever see anything from Steve or Danya, I don't know. Well, an update to that is apparently Danya is coming forward this year. I think the only thing that stopped her coming forward so far is the current situation with COVID. But that's going to be very interesting.
I think mind control is very possible. You know, people can.
Yes.
You're seeing how Darren Brown can hypnotize people just like that, but he seeks out certain people that are more easily influenced as well. He programs them over months. I'm pretty sure they got programs like that throughout America.
If it was anything like this, it's an absolute disgrace. It's criminal because there was. Well, you shouldn't be doing it to anybody, but there was children there.
Yeah. Who knows? They might be, want to control people to become like super killers. Suddenly average people are running around killing people. You never know really what the government's up to.
I still think it's more alien There's one thing that got me, and that was how the animals were subdued,
But maybe they're affected by the same chemicals, right? Because we are
Possibly.
chemical beings, right? Drugs do affect
Possibly.
us, alcohol even affects us, So, yeah, who knows, really? But, of course, it could be like some sort of EMF and infrasound, and that can make people go crazy as well. I reckon that's probably what they've been playing around with more, that line of thing, like electromagnetic radiation. To make
that
people,
can have a terrible psychological effect.
rather than doing drugs which could be tested and found out, EMF pulse that scrambles your brain, knocks you out, and you lose missing time, could be more of a passive weapon where you could just knock out a whole city, right? And just they find themselves in cages or whatever, just rounded up.
Well, another thing as well is the location. If you were going to conduct that type of experiment, well, yeah,
you'd choose a remote village, right?
that'd be the place to do it.
That's right. A remote mountain cottage or whatever.
Yeah.
A little test group village or whatever up there. Did they say what the population was around there at all?
Oh, it'd be sparse, Paul.
Yeah. That's right. Okay.
It's just Wrexham itself. If you Wrexham is is it a town or city? That's actually where I was born, Wrexham, and that's a really built-up area. But once you get out of the built-up area, it starts getting really remote, really fast.
Right. Maybe you're part of the experiment as well. See how you affected as a kid and progress through adult life.
I don't think so. I was only there till I was 2 months old.
Yeah, still. And they do follow children throughout their lifespan, right?
Oh, come on. So everyone in Wrexham's been experimented on. Mind you, if you knew Wrexham, you may well come to that conclusion.
Well, she did. Yeah, she did make that quote there. Come to Wells, it will change you for life. That sounds like a good tourist attraction. Come to Wells, Susan. You'll never be the same again. Must be the beer they drink, I reckon, or the owls, as you call it over there. Give us that good old owl.
Come on, get on with the story.
This is my account of the events of that weekend. Whether you will ever see anything from Steve or Danya, I don't know. I really don't recommend that people speak in public anymore, not knowing the way we are all treated. There is so much damage caused by the community to peoples whose only crime is to have seen something they never asked to see, never wanted to see, and in some instances wish they had never seen. Sometimes I wish I'd never seen it, sometimes I am glad I have. The one thing I do wish is that the technology for recreating memories into images becomes available before I die, then you can all see it too. Until then, if ever, I am grateful to the friends I have made, and the friends who stayed with me, and believed me, and didn't think I had just gone mad for the fun of it. The one thing that does help is having other people around who you can talk to. It brings a kind of normalcy to it, that is a definite comfort. So keep your eyes peeled, but don't be surprised if nobody is interested in what you have seen. They're mostly too busy yakking about what they think about everything. Generally everyone else knows better than the witness, and the only person who is ever wrong is the person who had the sighting. C'est la vie. Sacha Cristie at 1402.
Yeah, there we go. So she's actually, she's quite well known now. She's got her own podcast. I haven't seen any uploads from her recently, but she covers UFOs, but more so the paranormal. I've been subbed to a channel for years now.
Yeah.
She's I know she plays herself down,
Mm-hmm.
but she's incredibly intelligent and witty. Not the kind of person you want to rub up the wrong way either, but she's got an amazing sense of humour. I mean, you've only got to go back right to the top of the article. Top. Yeah, look what she says there. Sacha Cristie, infomaniac housewife. You know, that's the kind of girl she is. She's it's always good to see her posts and that. She's so funny. Yeah,
Yep.
so obviously she wrote this article. It looks like it's for some kind of I don't know, investigator, agenda bender, truth finder, writer, speaker, artist, web addict, and oh god, rebel without a cause. Yeah, so I don't know where this article actually went to,
Without
whether
a
it's UFO
pause.
journal.
I don't know if that's how it's spelled. Without a pause, not a cause.
Yeah. Yeah, so there we have it. It's a harrowing tale, isn't it?
Yeah. And you reckon she's not searchable? 2 years?
Yeah, she's searchable. Yeah, she's searchable.
What happened there? I'm going to type that in. I copied the name and I got all that garbage there. Housewife. Sacha Cristie. Let's type it in. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Why can I type the name in? Let's do this different.
Well, just Google it.
No, I'll use this here. Yeah, it seemed to copy a lot of garbage. I just wanted the name. Make sure it's spelt right. So UFO maybe,
Yeah, you might
or
want to
abduction.
put UFO on the end. There you go.
Oh, on the front actually.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. Well, it come up on Facebook.
Yeah.
Uncovered without special guest. Facebook. UK director of ICAR Radio. So she might be talking on that then.
Yeah.
Twitter.
I've never heard her personal story on a channel, but it may have been in a previous episode that I just wasn't subbed at the time.
Yeah, let's see what she's got on Twitter. Well, there's a picture of her.
Yeah, that's Sacha, yeah.
Paranormal magnet. So she attracts paranormal. But we get that with UFO field, you know, the amount of paranormal I've had.
Yeah.
And then the alien visit. It seems to be some sort of connection. Liverpool.
Yeah, she's Liverpool now. I think by her accent, she was from Manchester, Leeds area originally. I think she did actually say in her account there that she went back to Leeds after her encounter in Wales.
There you go. She's on to beer, so she sounds like your type of girl.
Yeah.
What's that one? Floorboards. What's under the floorboards? Okay, ancient artifacts, is it? What the hell's that? Mandrake creature. That looks like a spud that's gone wrong. Fermenting beer.
Yeah.
It's now fermenting beer. Oh,
But anyway, we got a lot to get through, you know.
Yeah,
if you want to move on to the
Yeah. We'll just have a look at her page here, though. Also, she might be on some radio shows.
Cheers.
There's some mountains.
She's got a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, she's got a lot on there.
Won't be a second.
Okay. Oh, well, we could post a Twitter account if you want to go and follow her. I have to wait till he comes back now. Okay, we've got a video there. What the hell? Want to be in the meeting where this idea was proposed. What is it? Rotating cutting blade. That's kind of clever. Watch out for the power line, though. But yeah, I suppose that's how they stop the trees shortening out the cable. Yeah, I could see how that could go wrong, though. Wow. Very clever, though. Massive hedge clipper. Interesting. Are you there? I hear someone. Now we're just watching this massive hedge clipper. Quite clever.
Yeah, I know, I've seen it.
We're just waiting for you to get back. So where we go? Yeah. Oh, actually, was there some alien pictures there? Just popped past. I'll just go full screen a bit. Thought I saw some drawings. Here we go. What's this one? Deep Prasad. She follows that guy. Everyone thinks he's a fraud now. Right, that's right. At the end of his bed. I don't know about that guy. Yeah, I just don't know. But yeah, can't really discount it though.
Shall we move on to Washington then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're heading to Washington.
And the black triangles.
Washington State.
Yeah.
Washington DC, Washington, USA. Which is on the East Coast, isn't it? Oregon. There we go. Yep. So we're heading there. I'm trying to copy the link. So much crazy going on here. How? On the other screen. Copy. Is it working? Yep. Here we go. Okay, who we got on the side? Tommy still?
Yeah, this is Tommy's case. This is the case that Tommy wanted looking at, or cases.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's shrink it down. Triangles. Okay, we'll keep it like that, I guess. Start reading it.
Yep.
Many in the UFO community are familiar with black triangle UFOs. Even those outside of UFO circles will likely remember the wave of such sightings that spread across Belgium in early 1993. And many, with good reason, believe these very specific aerial vehicles to be of at least partial human design. Debate still rages on whether such technology behind these crafts is based on that recovered from a plethora of alleged crashes of extraterrestrial vehicles.
Well, that's poor research, that, because the Belgian wave was 89-90, not 1993. Anyway, I just thought I'd point that out.
Mm-hmm.
Vehicles. Whether human or extraterrestrial in origin, the black triangle sightings have quietly been taking place in the upper northwest regions of the state of Washington for the last 30 years. And while sightings of these black triangular vehicles take place all over the world, such a concentration of them in one, by comparison, small area of airspace is certainly interesting. Depiction of black triangle UFOs over an American city. For example, might this suggest the upper northwest of the Evergreen State is being utilized as a secret testing ground for these advanced crafts of terrestrial origin? Or, if we say that these crafts are indeed from elsewhere in the cosmos, why such a concentration of this particular type of craft in this part of the world? As we will examine shortly, several sightings in the same region of the world may indeed suggest something of interest is taking place there. As is often the case, the subject is one that could and does fill entire books. Needless to say, to examine every single sighting in a single article would be inappropriate and, for the reader, rather mundane. We will, though, attempt to provide a snapshot into one of the most intriguing aspects of the UFO community, in one of the most, in UFO terms, alluring areas of the United States. Below is just one example of such a sighting. Contents: UFO corridors and clusters of hot spots around the United States.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get around it.
Washington. UFO corridors and clusters of hot spots around the United States. We should be clear that sightings of black triangle UFOs are seen all over the United States and around the world. And while we may indeed look at some of those sightings in future articles, either individually or as a collective, there is good reason to concentrate, for now, on the state of Washington and the west coast of the United States. Perhaps not least because between them, Washington, Oregon, and California consistently ranks among the highest for UFO sightings in America. Add to this that Canada's British Columbia and Yukon regions sit atop Washington, both of which also rank highly in UFO sightings, and are in turn next to another UFO hotspot in Alaska. Furthermore, if we might step fully into speculative territory for a moment, we might want to look at the states that reside to the east of the West Coast territories. Bordering California, for example, are Nevada and Arizona. To the latter's eastern border sites New Mexico, which has Colorado to its north and Texas to its east. All of these states have an abundance of UFO sightings, and provide a perfect corridor for surveillance of UFO activity, and/or testing of such aircraft. And the state of Washington provides the perfect coastal entrance to it. Depiction of black triangle UFOs over an American city.
Seen it.
Incidentally, similar clusters of hotspot areas appear to revolve around the upper Midwest around Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan, which interestingly or not sit opposite another UFO hotspot in Ontario, Canada, and along the East Coast and, in particular, upper northeast regions of the United States around New York, Pennsylvania, Maine, and Ohio. However, it would appear the western corridor of these UFO hotspots provides access not only to Mexico and South America, but also to the eastern areas of the United States and, in turn, the upper Midwest. Washington, the evergreen state in more ways than one? We will be concentrating for the most part on sightings from the 1990s and into the 2000s for the purposes of our article here, in part, as it perhaps ties up with the Belgian UFO wave of the early 1990s, which we will come back to later, and because these more contemporary sightings are most definitely richer in detail. There are, however, several sightings that go back as far as the early 1960s, which is in sympathy with many of the other states mentioned above. Furthermore, while there are more sightings of triangular UFOs in California, for example, the overall percentage of such crafts reported, at least according to some figures in the region, is greater in the state of Washington, with around a quarter of UFO sightings in the evergreen state being of triangular craft versus approximately a tenth in California. Below is another recent UFO sighting over Washington state, this one from 2008. Black triangle sightings over Washington state in the 1970s. Perhaps one of the first black triangle UFO sightings as we perceive them today, black with 3 lights on the underside and moving silently, occurred in the summer of 1971. In the early hours of the July 7th, around 4 a.m., a 17-year-old resident in Kelso witnesses a very large black triangle moving slowly above him. What's more, despite the altitude being no more than 150 feet, there was little to no sound from the mammoth craft. The craft was jet black and within seconds had covered all the sky that the witness could see above him. What is perhaps interesting about this report, and others, is how similar, in terms of the slow movement versus the huge size of the craft, and a lack of noise, to many of the descriptions of the Phoenix lights in 1997 in Arizona. Depiction of a black triangle UFO shining a light on a truck.
Yeah.
Another sighting occurred 6 months later on New Year's Day 1970.
Yeah, when you look at some of those depictions above, you see what people are describing is that the edges that are always like kind of rounded off. They're never sharp edges. And the underside, best way to describe it is basically a set of tubes, pistons, like the back of a fridge, basically. So it's definitely some kind of structure on the underside in most of the good descriptions. So I don't know, it kind of suggests something. Yeah, and that red light at the center as well, that's often described in many cases, especially Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
But that was more like it, that particular artist rendition there. So you can see there that the corners of the triangle, no, the other one with the red light, that one, no, that's got sharp edges. They don't look like that.
No.
From most witness accounts anyway. No, you did have one there, then no, that's not it either. Doesn't matter.
And these are the other stories coming up.
Yeah, better go back to where you were.
It won't scroll now. Oh, is it my mouse playing up? Should resume, hopefully.
Year's Day 1972 in Seattle.
Yeah.
A newspaper delivery boy would claim to hear a woman suddenly scream, causing him to spin around and seek out the noise. As he did so, he witnessed a huge triangular ship in the daytime sky. On the September 9, 1974, a sighting reported years later by her grandchildren, was witnessed by a Kelso resident. The strange, triangular object hovered around 150 feet from the ground, and was silent despite its huge size. Its exterior was a dark, non-shiny metal, and on its underside were 3 lights, one in each corner. A similar object was witnessed at around 11 p.m. on the August 8, 1976 at Mount Lake Terrace. The witness, who was looking for meteors with his binoculars, would notice a glowing triangular object not moving very fast. Furthermore, its altitude was so low he could see it was not a conventional aircraft. 1980s brings more encounters. Sightings of these specifically black, silently moving triangular crafts continued as the 1980s took over from the 70s. For example, on the April 5, 1980, a witness driving near Georgetown just to the south of Seattle witnessed a black triangular craft hovering silently over Boeing Field, now called King County International Airport. 3 years later, just after 11 p.m. on the May 10, 1983 in Bremerton, a local resident would spot a triangular object with 3 grayish lights on its underside moving in perfect silence across the sky. On the January 6, 1985, a similar sighting was reported, only the lights were rotating like a wheel. Depiction of a black triangle UFO over woodland. On the evening of July 22, 1987, at a little after 10 p.m. came yet another black triangle sighting. While sitting in their car on a ferry from Vashon Island to the Fauntleroy district of Seattle, the witness would describe a triangular light formation on an aerial object. Furthermore, in the middle of these lights was a middle pulsing light. A similar sighting took place on the October 10, 1989 in Centralia, when a huge triangularly shaped object would blot out a huge portion of the late evening sky. Once more, there was a light at each corner of the object and a middle light. The contemporary UFO era over the state of Washington. As the 90s progressed, however, the sightings would become all the more detailed and intriguing. Perhaps in part, this is down to the internet and developments in technology allowing almost everyone to walk around with a mobile phone in their pocket courtesy of their mobile phone. Or perhaps sightings are becoming more frequent, because these alien objects are simply in our skies a lot more. The 1990 Port Angeles sighting. On an evening in September 1990, anonymous witnesses, then husband and wife, would report a bizarre triangular craft from the isolated home in a rural area of Port Angeles. On this particular evening, the couple was sat looking up at the stars when they noticed something moving again in the black sky. Thinking it was a plane, they at first paid it little more attention. That was until they realized it was moving much too slowly to be a plane. In fact, it was moving much too slow to be anything conventional. They would watch the craft for around 20 minutes, the time it took for it makes its way across their field of vision above. All the while they expected to hear the sound of its engines, however, no such sound was forthcoming. As it turned into the night sky, though, they could clearly see 3 white lights at the corners of the object. An artist's impression of a black triangle UFO against a night sky. As it moved across the skies, it would block out the stars, making it easy for the couple to keep track of its slow journey. At one stage, as it moved over the top of the couple, they would recall how a middle light would rotate slowly. Interestingly, both witnesses would also state that they had the feeling as though this light was performing some sort of methodical survey of which they were a part of. Finally, it would approach the Olympic Mountains where it suddenly vanished with sudden and fantastic acceleration. Both witnesses would state that the craft was unlike anything they had seen before. Furthermore, it was their firm belief that it was most likely not a
Yeah, that's what makes me think, the way that took off there, the ability to be, such a huge object with the ability to hover silently or move at, ridiculously low speeds like 5, 10 miles per hour and then shoot off with that sudden burst of acceleration without any sound, without any sonic boom. That's what lends me towards thinking it's something that's doesn't belong to us. But there's no question that we have some triangular craft flying around. I mean, there was one captured in England. I think it was in the late 90s or the early 2000s, and it was a perfectly clear picture of this black triangle. But the only thing is, you could see a clear exhaust at the back. You know, this thing was running on fossil fuels, and it couldn't have done what that witness was describing.
It could have been like a RC large-scale model that someone built.
Oh, don't go on about the TR3B again, for God's sakes.
No.
Don't get me started with that.
There's some, you know, because the model RC remote control, you know, they can build these great big huge models that can fly, right? And the engines are so powerful, and they do run off what do you call it? Kerosene, which is what airplane fuel is, it's actually quite dirty oil, really.
Yeah, no, it's just a big chemical firework.
Yeah.
Nothing really. Yeah, no, it's advanced theirs, but
yeah. Well, apparently
where's the
SpaceX uses kerosene as well, because the hydrocarbons in it produces a lot more energy, right? To lift off the rocket without having to carry so much fuel. But it's actually dirty fuel, really.
Yeah, but unless you believe Michael Schratz, and he says we conquered gravity in 1954. Yeah, that's what he says.
It's possible. I'm pretty sure Townsend Brown was. Yeah. It could have been Townsend Brown researcher. He was definitely on that sort of line of thought. But again, you need some sort of high voltage power source to be able to generate the fields between plates to be able to reduce mass, right? Because that's
where's the sonic boom?
Well, it depends. Maybe the triangle shape is the key to that as well. You know, the pointy end on it. But the pointy shape at the rounded end may project some sort of field forward, electrical field forward that creates a hole in the air, so it never creates a sonic boom. You know, the quasi crystals that they're talking about for the material skin. I think part of that's part of what Townsend Brown was working on. I'm not sure if you watched my documentary on him, but apparently he noticed, and so did Tesla at the time, noticed that X-ray tubes were actually getting lighter when they're fully charged, because it's creating high voltage tension between the plates, right? Only one plate gained weight and the rest lost weight. It's kind of interesting that people have carried on that research with the high voltage capacitors. But the thing is, you're going to need some high energy power source to be able to charge that in the sky. And really the only way you could do that was nuclear fuel cells, not hydrocarbons, really. It'd make a hell of a noise if you had the electrical generators using hydrocarbons.
Some people have reported a humming effect when they were very, very close down to the ground.
Which is an electrical type of phenomenon, isn't it? When you get charged plates.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at it in a scientific way or electronic way, and the stuff I've done documentaries on. But again, if you've watched all my stuff over the years, you would know all this anyway, so there's no point in me talking about it.
But there's some good cases here that I wasn't, familiar with. So it's well done to Tommy for putting us onto this. Anyway, should we roll it on?
Mm-hmm.
Not of this world. The 1993 Boeing Field Incident. One Sunday evening in November 1993 came a sighting of a black triangular object. Only this time at much closer range. As the witness was driving close to Boeing Field near Seattle, at around 9:30 p.m., they noticed 3 red lights low in the sky. They would move in unison and maintained their position ahead of the witness and to their right. They would continue down the highway, wrestling with the idea that the strange lights might be a small plane or a helicopter. However, try as they might, they could not see the craft part of the object, only the lights. If it had been a small plane or helicopter, at such close range they felt they should have been able to tell so. The fact that the lights weren't blinking also alerted the witness to the fact that something very different was unfolding. A depiction of a black triangle UFO. As the witness approached Boeing Field, it became obvious that the object, whatever it was about to proceed into over the facility. They brought their car to a stop and stepped out in order to get a clearer look before it vanished over the airfield. When they looked up, moving slowly overhead was a huge black triangle. They would continue. And, not just sort of triangular shaped, it was just one big, three-sided, cookie-cutter straight-edged, black, geometric shape. A triangle with one large, round unblinking red light at each of its 3 corners. As the object disappeared into the distance, they became aware of a huge, gray cloud that was subtly lit by the Seattle city lights. The triangular craft appeared like a huge, dense, black silhouette against the backdrop of the vaguely lit clouds. Silently, as it had remained throughout, the object disappeared into the night sky. The 2003 Juanita gigantic black triangle sighting. Just short of a decade later, on the February 16, 2003, came another apparent sighting of a black triangular-shaped craft in the immediate Seattle area, this time in the Juanita region. At around 11 p.m. on the night in question, the witness was driving in the Seattle area when, according to their report, they would notice a gigantic jet black triangle, with lights, come very slowly towards me over the trees just to the north of Juanita High School. The witness would stop their vehicle and look out momentarily.
Yeah.
They would estimate the object was at an altitude of no more than 100 feet. Even stranger, despite its mammoth size, there was no sound at all from the apparently otherworldly craft. A depiction of a black triangle UFO. It continued to on over the treetops, moving at an unusually slow pace for a craft of its size. The witness would estimate that the craft covered less than 1,000 feet in the 30 seconds they stood and watched it. For a moment, it hovered silently in one place for several seconds, even turning off all the lights momentarily. It would then move out of sight in the same calm, steady manner. Like a prehistoric aircraft, moving in sympathy with the mammoth of the mammoth beasts who plodded along the land below. The witness' wife would, according to his report, find one other witness report on a UFO website for the same evening and location. However, a link for the report is not available at the time of writing. Furthermore, the witness does not wish to use their real name or email address for fear of ridicule or publicity. The 2003 Boeing Field sighting. At around 10 p.m. on the May 1, 2003, once more near Boeing Field, a husband and wife were locking their car and preparing to enter the home when something caught their attention in the night sky. As they both focused their attention, they could see a triangular craft moving slowly across the sky in the direction of Boeing Field. At each underside point of the triangle was a dim orange light. They would watch the black triangular object for several minutes, noting how bizarre it was that it seemingly emitted no noise whatsoever. It would eventually become lost in the distance of the night sky, and the outline of it, so clear initially, was gone. The couple would later notice how their pet dog had become seemingly unnerved by the incident, even becoming lethargic and losing his balance at one stage in the hours following. Incidentally, investigators from Norfolk, who the report was made to, would speak to the main witness, the wife. They would note what an exceptionally reliable witness she appeared to be. The 2004 downtown Seattle sighting. On the evening of June 20, 2004, a report would come from a husband and his wife, who while in front of their adult daughter's home in downtown Seattle would spot an unusual triangular craft. At around 11:15 p.m., with the sky still enjoying the glow of the summer solstice, as the witness was speaking his wife, he noticed the black triangular object moving silently, despite its huge size, across the sky. It was only in his sight for around 3 seconds before it disappeared from his sight behind one of the other houses on the street. This perhaps says a lot for the low altitude of the aerial vehicle. The witness would describe as black with light gray paneling. Furthermore, at each corner was a dim white light. Interestingly, as the witness has a keen interest and knowledge of aviation, he would claim that he instantly thought of the UFO sightings in Belgium in the early 90s. He would claim he had read a lot about the incident and knew what it was the second he saw it. UFO investigators would report the witness to be particularly credible, both due to his demeanor and background. Furthermore, the witness was quick-thinking enough to draw a detailed drawing with equally as detailed information about the sighting. You can see that drawing below. Sketch and note of a black triangle UFO. The 2005 Kirkland Perfect Black Triangle sighting. Shortly after midnight on the May 13th in Kirkland, Mr. Rebor went outside to place some recycling material into the appropriate containers. However, almost as soon as he stepped outside, he heard or sensed something very subtle in the sky. As he moved his line of sight to where his gut was urging him to do so, he could see a perfect black triangle in the skies above and to the front of him. On two sides of the craft, there were lights no brighter than dim stars. Furthermore, each of these lights was uniformly spaced and of the same color. What perplexed the witness more than anything else was the distinct lack of noise suggestive or a propulsion method or system. And with this in mind, the fact it was still aloft in the air at the speed, or lack thereof, it was traveling at meant it was defying the laws of gravity. Depiction of a black triangle UFO. The witness would estimate the craft was at least the size of a 747 jet, or even around 3/4 of the size of a football field. Furthermore, how it moved through the sky, at a relatively low altitude was strange. At least to him, it gave the impression it was floating rather than flying. The craft would eventually vanish out of sight. Further correspondence between the witness and UFO investigators left the latter feeling that Mr. Renoir was not only of sound mind, but a remarkably credible witness.
Yep.
Yeah, we've even made some enormous breakthrough in physics. I mean, it said there, this craft seems to be denying the laws of physics. Well, you can't break the laws of physics. Physics is physics. There just seems to be some part of physics that we clearly don't understand, at this stage in our development. And if they are holding back on this kind of technology, it's criminal because it's a game changer, isn't it? I don't think we have this stuff, to be honest, because anyone who's got this kind of technology, that's it. It's game over. It's always been the case throughout history. If you've got a country that's more technologically advanced than other countries, then they're going to take advantage of that situation. But yet we still have this stalemate with China, excuse me, with China and Russia and so on. If we'd had this kind of tech, I don't think there would have been a Cold War. I mean, I don't know. I mean, listening to Michael Schatz, and he's an aviation historian and he's a really nice guy. But he's got his information from these inside sources. I always worry when somebody won't actually go on the record, and the only patent we have for this kind of tech is the what was his name, Fuchsler, that TR3B, and that all seems a little bit dodgy and pie in the sky to me. I don't know what the hell's going on with this technology. And another thing as well, I mean, early sightings, 40s and 50s, tended to be more saucer, didn't they? More saucer-like. And of course, you've always had the orbs. You've always had the spherical type craft, even from the Foo Fighters at the Second World War. But yeah, the the saucers seem to be predominant. And then all of a sudden, these triangles burst onto the scene, starting in the 60s, and then becoming more widespread in the 70s and 80s. And so either we have made that breakthrough in physics, or we've got a new kid on the block. Either that, or the same aliens are driving around in a new vehicle. God, who knows? It's baffling. It's really difficult to get.
It's possible our technology, but maybe it's just not suitable for using it as weapon technology, right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I think you can weaponize any kind of craft if you wanted to.
It might be able to defy gravity and shoot off into space, but it may not be able to defend itself because of how it works, right?
I don't know. I don't see any problem with weaponizing these things, you know. I really don't. They would have easily thought of a way to do that by now.
I just don't know. Maybe it interferes with the electronics of the rockets.
I mean,
so if you fired off the rockets, but yeah, maybe they've only got one or two of these things, and of course they don't want to use it as a weapon in case they get shot down and it falls into the wrong hands, right? It might be the last defense,
these things
you know.
have been seen in waves, Paul. I mean, look at the Phoenix Lights. Look at the Belgian wave. There was more.
But there was only one. That's what I mean.
Hey,
it was just one large craft.
It was more than one. And if you can build one, you can build two. If you can build two, you can build five. If you can build five, you can build 10. Nah, I just can't go for that. That doesn't add up to me. If they
unless
showing up in the 60s, we'd have a whole fleet of them by now.
I think you're making too much assumptions, though. Unless the material that's used to power it or make the skin of it is very rare on Earth, and because they can only make one or a handful of them, and that's it. Until they get out in space and mine other planets.
They're being seen all over the world with lights on over overpopulated areas. That doesn't make sense if you're trying to keep it under wraps. If you're trying to keep it quiet, you keep it quiet. Flying in the desert, you got tons of desert, thousands of miles of desert. And you go light it up like a Christmas tree, and you fly it over a city. Come on.
Yeah, but nah, it might be just some, you know, its cloaking may have failed that particular day, so it become visible, right? Now, you're making too much assumptions.
No, I'm not. I'm not going on assumptions. I'm going on common sense.
Yes, you are.
No, it's common sense.
Anyway, I don't care. I'm not going to argue. But, yeah, I still think we can call it either way. Interdimensional craft, or multi-universal craft, or alien craft from other galaxies or parts of the universe. Who knows?
All of the above.
Yeah, so...
Witness. Although it was only his intuition, Mr. Rebor would get the feeling that the craft, or more specifically the intelligence behind it, was not one of us, and most likely extraterrestrial. Even stranger was the feeling that those on board possessed a clinical superintelligence. The 2007 lunar eclipse Seattle UFO sighting. In the early hours of August 28, 2007, At around 2:45 a.m., a husband and wife who were stargazing and watching the lunar eclipse from their home balcony in downtown Seattle witnessed a triangular craft gliding overhead. The witness, who had his camera at the ready, suddenly attempted to capture the object, quickly snapping 3 shots. However, due to the settings he had his camera adjusted to, in order to photograph the moon clearly, the pictures were blurred beyond recognition.
Of course.
You can, however, see sketches of the incident they made below and at the bottom of this section.
Bluffos.
Sketch of a black triangle UFO. Both witnesses were believed to be credible and sincere in their report. They would witness the black silhouette of the triangular craft, with what appeared to be around 11 to 13 lights on the sides or underneath it. They would stress that the position of their home meant they were used to a lot of air traffic and all kinds of aerial vehicles of
Very
all
strange
descriptions
lights.
passing over them. This, however, was most definitely something neither of them had witnessed or even seen before. Once more, and like many other witnesses to the Black Triangle sightings, the witness on this occasion would state how his ears were waiting for the roar of the propulsion system. However, no noise or other disturbance came. This lack of noise gave the craft the impression of gliding through the air. The couple would continue to watch the craft until it vanished out of their sight. They would claim that it literally flew over downtown Seattle. Sketch of a black triangle UFO. 2018 Seattle sighting proves TR-3B is surveillance aircraft for U.S. military. A recent sighting of a triangular UFO even made mainstream newspaper reports in 2018, albeit in a tongue-in-cheek fashion. According to chatter from the UFO community, the Black Triangle sightings above Seattle in September 2018, known as TR-3B are, in fact, U.S. Air Force surveillance aircraft. The TR, some claim, stands for Tactical Reconnaissance. Might these crafts belong to the Black Budget Department of the United States military? If that is the case, by definition there would be no public acknowledgement. And there has been a lot of apparently leaked information in recent years regarding these triangular crafts. Information suggesting that they are indeed top-secret government crafts. However, U.S. authorities still maintain their position that these are not secret crafts of theirs or, to the best of their knowledge, any other country, friendly or otherwise.
So we're still yet to see Tim McMillan's TR-3B coming out of the water photograph, and also there was that Contact 2019 TV show episode 8, I think it was, where there was a guy locked out on the Navy airship, aircraft carrier, was it? Said that was one triangle half out the water, but it wasn't actually floating. It was like the water was repelling from it in the sea, and it was like twice as big as the aircraft carrier. It just lifted off and then shot off at super fast speed. So that means, that means to me, like they had a lockdown on the ship that day, seems to suggest that some military black ops, they must have known about it, that it was coming up. So why were they there when it was coming up? Kind of strange. So aliens, black ops, combination of aliens and military craft.
It's all cards on the table, I suppose. But he said it was like halfway out the water, and there was no water dripping off it. Like you'd expect to see.
Yeah. Just popped out the water like a cork, pretty much.
It's a crazy story.
But why have such a big triangle craft as well? It's another question. That one sounds almost like the Phoenix Lights one, actually, wasn't it? When did that happen? 1986, was
97. 97.
97. Which is the same year that Navy guy saw one coming out the water, actually, wasn't it? But I'm not sure what month it was. I don't know if you got the information handy on that.
Coming out the water. Well, there's been a few like that.
No, that particular one where they hunt him down in a ranch. That happened in '97. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
'97.
Well, I didn't see it all. I didn't see that. I only caught the last 20 minutes of it. But I seen that witness speaking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it happened in '97, which is the same year the Phoenix Lights happened, where a big triangle was flying.
I don't know. I thought that was part of the Nimitz encounters. That one.
No, that's before 2004. No, it's way before. Okay. Way before.
You sure?
Yeah, way before.
As I said, I didn't catch it all.
Yeah, I don't know if you can find information on it, but...
Otherwise. Might such notions be another example of disinformation in motion? You can view one of the pictures of the recently spotted triangular crafts below. Does this picture show a black triangle UFO? The West Coast UFO corridor? Might it be that, aside from mere location, there is a connection between the ample UFO sightings and the states highlighted in our opening on the West Coast and inner west parts of the United States?
That looks like a kite.
Might there, indeed, for want of a better name, be an American West Coast UFO corridor? One that provides access to both Western Canada and South America? One where the crossroads or access point is in the state of Washington. Perhaps we should examine just a snippet of the wealth of sightings of such triangular crafts from some of the neighboring states. Those that make up this potential corridor of black triangle UFO activity. Before we do so, however, short video below looks at these triangular aircraft. Black triangles hovering over Los Angeles, California, 2000. Perhaps one of the first public and widely witnessed black triangle UFO sighting of the 21st century occurred over the skies of Los Angeles in the summer of 2000. A young man was driving in the downtown city of Angels with his girlfriend at around 6 p.m. under the still bright summer's evening sky. When they stopped at a traffic light, the young lady noticed something strange and alerted the witness to it. After leaning forward slightly from the driver's seat, directly overhead were three black triangular objects. They were in sight for around 30 seconds. They appeared otherwise motionless with no distinguishing markings or symbols, and strangest of all, they were completely silent. Depiction of a black triangle UFO. The way they moved gave them a silhouette-like appearance as they drifted through the blue Los Angeles sky. Interestingly, and unlike the majority of the other black triangle sightings, the objects appeared to be a lot higher than the normal air traffic. Whether this is a consequence of the crammed airspace around Los Angeles or not is perhaps open to debate. It is most certainly worth mentioning, though. What is also interestingly, after losing sight of them for a second, when they returned their glance to the sky, the objects had vanished completely. In part, because of this, and the bizarre shape of them, the witness would conclude that the triangles were either undisclosed advanced aircraft or extraterrestrial craft. Although the date isn't exact, a sighting in Newtown Square, several almost identical objects were witnessed moving slowly overhead. And like the majority of the other sightings, the crafts were an exact equilateral triangle with round lights at each corner. Huge black triangle craft hovering over the Arizona desert, 2001. According to one UFO website of the time, in mid-September 2001, just outside of Phoenix, Arizona, William Hearn and a friend were vacationing from their usual residence of Florida. Their intent was to head to the mountain regions and indulge in a spot of gold panning. After pitching their 2 tents on a campsite near to their gold panning destination, the pair would decide to spend the evening fishing on the nearby riverbank. As they looked for a spot to set up their equipment, Hearn noticed a huge structure brightly lit up a little distance away, the nearby power plant. After spending a couple of nights near the water, even the glow from the plant was not enough to cut through the darkness, and the pair decided to retire to their tents for the night. However, around 1 a.m., and unable to sleep, Hearn would emerge from his shelter for a breath of fresh air. When he did, he witnessed a huge black triangle craft moving along in a floating motion. Depiction of a black triangle UFO. As he stared in awe and disbelief, he noticed that along the side were 6 portholes, each of which glowed a red color. Interestingly, Hearn would claim that he and his friend, who had emerged from his tent, called to each other. They couldn't, however, hear the other or themselves. In retrospect, Hearn would state, "It was silent. I wonder now if it wasn't emitting some sort of white noise to mask its sound. I just marveled at how something so massive could glide along so slowly and be so quiet." It is certainly an intriguing theory. Perhaps of even more interest is the response of a friend local to the area the following day. They would respond that it was probably some military experiment. The Interstate 5 Black Triangle Sighting, 2004. At a little after 10 p.m. on the July 12, 2004, while on their way to New Mexico from San Francisco along Interstate 5, an entire family would encounter the I-5 UFO phenomenon that had apparently hounded the area for some time. The craft in question was triangular in shape and would swoop down low over the tops of the traffic. Interestingly, the witness would claim that the movements of the craft were incredible, but not beyond human capability. Perhaps of further interest was the fact that the triangle itself was not a perfect triangle, which goes against almost all of the other similar sightings we have examined here. Sketch of the route of the craft. Might this particular sighting indeed be of a terrestrially built vehicle, but also a drastically different craft to the ones in our previous...
Sorry, mate?
Let's have a look at that sketch.
Yeah, I've looked at that one before.
Yeah, okay. So he says this was not a typical triangle then, but what does he mean by that?
Well, that could be one of those RC, large flying wings that you can get that look like triangles.
Yeah, yeah.
Because look how it swoops around. It looks like a race car track almost.
Yeah. It's funny how it came sweeping down over a highway like that, though.
Which would be classic for a remote control toy. But we're talking about adult toys here. We're talking about it could be up to five men as big. And they launch it and fly it around. I've covered it in past live streams. So yeah, that one kind of is suspect of being man-made.
Yeah, that certainly does. The Hudson Valley sightings as well in the early 80s, they're strange because a lot of people say they were triangles, but they weren't really. They were more chevron or boomerang type shapes, Yeah, it's very difficult to... You need a big machete to cut through all the information that's going on to get to the truth of what is really going on. I don't know. I just don't know. We can just keep looking, that's all.
Previous incidents? That would certainly explain the not beyond human capability comment. As would the fact that the object in this particular sighting made a distinct whining and hissing sound. If we accept that many if not all of the other sightings above and to follow are of an extraterrestrial nature, what does this sighting say about the apparent attempts of whichever organization is responsible for replicating these cosmic triangular crafts? And if such replication attempts are indeed taking place, where is such intricate information coming from? Large black triangles over San Francisco, 2005. Another intriguing sighting comes from San Francisco at around 6:45 p.m. on the December 3, 2005. That evening, Michael Smith and his friend were sat on the back decking area of the house, each looking towards the crystal clear night sky. They would suddenly notice, at a distance of around 500 feet, two large black triangle-shaped objects. They were moving directly over the property. Both of the objects, each perfectly equilateral triangles, were heading towards Mount Davidson. And each would fly in perfect side-by-side formation. A depiction of a black triangle near the Golden Gate Bridge. At the point of each triangle was a dim star-like lights. And the crafts themselves appeared darker than even the night sky. In total, they were in sight for between 30 to 45 seconds. What was perhaps strange about the sighting, at least to the witnesses, was how slow the objects were moving. Certainly for their size, which was significantly larger than that of a 747 plane. Perhaps again, like other witnesses to these sightings of black triangles, the witness would state how there was an eerie feeling about the crafts. One that perhaps made an alien craft more likely than a military experimental one. The Point McKenzie sighting, Alaska, 2006. Perhaps we should also examine a sighting from the October 10, 2006 from Point McKenzie in Alaska. That evening after leaving a friend's house, the witness set off in the car for home. They immediately noticed a set of lights overhead, but simply thought they were a plane, and so continued on. After so long, however, something struck the witness as not being quite right. Even though they didn't quite know what it was. They would put the windows down in an effort to listen to the aircraft's engine. Instead, all that greeted him, at least from the skies, was silence. The witness would even turn off the car in an effort to pick out the aircraft. Still nothing. Then, the lights turned to allow the witness to see the true triangular shape of the object. The witness, like many witnesses in the Washington cases above, would draw attention to how the triangular object moved. He would state that it didn't bank, but would slide as it moved through the air. Such descriptions are almost identical to many other black triangle sightings. You can see a sketch produced by the witness for the UFO files of the investigators below. Sketch of a black triangle UFO.
So look at this.
A clear divide in ever-muddying waters. As we have alluded to several times throughout this piece, there are many in the UFO and conspiracy communities who maintain that the black triangles, the TR-3B, are indeed United States aircraft of the black budget variety. It is certainly a possibility. If we look at some of the tops of the range aircraft of previous decades, for example, it isn't that much of a leap of the imagination that the black triangle would be part of the next generation of such aircraft. However, with that said, given that sightings go back to at least the 1990s, and demonstrably before that, why would the U.S. military still wish to maintain such secrecy decades later? Surely, we would imagine, at this stage, such technologies would have moved on. Or might it be that they have? And the covering up of the black triangle craft is a cover-up in itself? A way of diverting attention away from whatever futuristic aircraft they might already be working on. A depiction of a black triangle UFO. We should note the insistence on this from large portions of the UFO and conspiracy corners. A great deal of the direct witnesses to these sightings, however, often express their intense belief, even acknowledging that it is merely a feeling but strong nonetheless, that the intelligence behind such crafts, as well as the crafts themselves, are not of this world. One thing is certain when it comes to the origins and purpose of the black triangles. And that is that the divide is clear and looks to remain so for now. Until, that is, the ever sought-after conclusive proof enters the public arena. And, as we alluded to earlier and muddying the waters even further, it is that the black triangles are indeed terrestrial craft, but built and powered with extraterrestrial technology? Questions. Questions. And more questions.
Yep.
Whatever the truth behind the black triangular crafts, both the ones we have examined here, and the many others around the world, there is most definitely ample proof that of all the crafts witnessed and reported over the years and decades, like the disc or saucer-shaped ones, the black triangle craft are in such abundance that it is impossible to ignore them. If we accept, for a moment, that the US military is not behind the black triangle sightings, nor the typical disc-shaped craft, then does that mean we have two separate races of aliens regularly visiting the planet? Or might, like humans, the same apparent space travelers simply utilize more than one different vehicle? Maybe we could look at that the other way. Perhaps multiple races of aliens use these two different and basic cosmic vehicles? Like always when we venture down such roads, questions with more questions leap out of the dark side streets. And they demand our attention before we can move on. Quite often, our journey requires that we double back on ourselves in order to fully grasp even the potential and speculative happenings and agendas of the UFO and alien question. If we accept that the UFO cluster spots and corridors we highlighted earlier are of importance, and let's be clear, it is purely speculation on our part, based on real sightings and incidents, but speculation nonetheless, what does that tell us about both the US military and their potential and much accused direct involvement in UFO matters, as well as the extraterrestrials themselves, and just why they would respect or utilize such boundaries? More questions for another day. Check out the video below. It looks at the black triangle sightings and the conspiracies behind them in a little more detail.
Okay, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Dun,
there
dun,
was
dun.
some interesting cases there. They were good accounts, good detailed accounts too. The only thing we really lacked was a good photo. Not one good photo out of all of those, but a lot of them occurred before your smartphones. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it is. But these triangles, they're an absolute dilemma, a headache.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm convinced some of them are alien and some of them are military, you know.
More questions.
Yeah.
No answers.
Reverse
Well,
engineered, which was suggested there. I find that quite difficult, you know.
yeah.
'Cause you never know. You never know. They may have gleaned something from some materials that they've come across, whether it's been crashed or they've been deliberately dropped here to further our advancement. I don't know.
But why triangles? Why triangle
Yeah,
shapes? You know.
yeah. And why did they just suddenly come on the scene in the 60s when to go looking for triangular sightings before the 60s? You were really kind of pushing it a bit, you know.
Mm.
There was some vague ones, but you know, they weren't the triangles that are being reported today, and they're not going anywhere. They seem to be here to stay, whether it's ours or theirs. I don't know. But what I do like about it is that there's a consistency in the witness accounts from all over the world that they're all obviously clearly seeing same type of craft.
Yeah. I just wonder why they're triangle shapes.
Yeah. But I mean, who the hell would have thought of a saucer shape? I mean, it's not particularly aerodynamic, is it?
Actually, it is, but also because the shape fits with, electrical field over it. You know.
Yeah, if you've got that, yeah. But I
Well,
mean, look at our attempt to build one. You had the Avro car. Oh my god, they could hardly get off the ground.
Yeah,
and
but
that was in the 60s.
That was using a jet engine in the middle.
Yeah. No, it was actually hovercraft technology. It was, Paul.
Still was a jet engine in the middle, pushing the air cushion,
Yeah.
air downwards. But
And
that's
then you
not
had that
exactly
flying
anti-gravity.
flapjack. They didn't have that for long, did they? Before they took it out of commission.
Yeah. I just wonder if maybe these actually have helium in them, which makes it lighter. They're more like airships rather than UFOs as such.
Oh, I think they're a lot more advanced than balloons.
Maybe not.
Yeah, but something's given them the ability to hover completely silently. Okay, helium. Yeah, but then to shoot off at hypersonic speeds.
Because that may be
Without
why they're so
creating any
big, you
sound,
see. If they're so
without
big, I
creating any
mean,
sound or sonic boom.
yeah, but that might be why they have to be a certain size, a certain bigness or bigger, because it needs a lot of helium in it. But still, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll
quite
get the
strange.
Cosford incident next. You
Uh,
should probably be a bit familiar with this, Paul.
we had it open. What was the list that we got go through today?
Yeah, we've got
Yeah, you're
Cosford.
breaking up. Why are you breaking up? Are you there?
Yeah.
Robert? You're broken up there.
Yes.
So what have we done so far? Those three, is it? Cosford incident? We haven't done that yet, have we?
Yeah. I've left the link for you now. We're moving on to that now.
Mm-hmm.
I just need the bathroom.
Do you want me to read it out while you're gone? Yeah. So who's with us out there? Cool. Tommy. Who else? Went to Area 51 today. I don't know. So many missing people. We don't know what happened to Charles either. Yeah, still here. I was going to talk about this here before. I might as well just talk about it now, I guess. Well, Plexx ordered a logo. So, with the cap, right? And this is what he received. Nothing like the original design at all. And it's got... looks like it got torn bits out of it. I don't know. They must have had some sort of drunk person working for them that day. I don't know. But it looks like it's really badly transferred on there. Who would ship that out? So I wanted to see if anyone bought the hat out there. I know Area 51 did. He bought 2 hats. But yeah, that's really poor quality control there. And of course he bought a mug too, which had the same problem, right? That's what it should look like, and that's what he got. There's no red in that at all, so I'm not sure how they print that to get red. Where the red was meant to be, it's meant to be transparent, I think. Not too sure now. I think it is. But all that there should be transparent. So it's that sort of crappiness on it. I said to him, well, he's going to have to complain. He'll get another cap and cup sent out to him. It's not too bad if you weren't paying for it, but still, it's nothing like original design. Yeah, I don't know how you'd do that. He's lucky he's got a full cup. When I ordered one, it came in 1,000 pieces. They didn't pack it very well. But yeah, if Area 51's watching, perhaps come on Discord and upload some snapshots of your merchandise. I've ordered some bits, they haven't arrived yet. But we'll do an unboxing video and upload it separately when it does arrive. So yeah, we got to read out this one here.
Yeah, the Cosford incident. You know, people talk about Rendlesham as being like England's best ever case. I think this is better, you know.
Well, it's got Nick Pope's name next to it, so...
Well, this is Nick Pope's article, yes, so...
Mm.
And
Yeah.
he was at the UFO desk in the MOD when this occurred, I think. Because, yeah, he was there from 91 to 94. So, yeah, that'd be
you got scratching on your microphone there.
Yeah, it's not me. Hold on, I'll just pull this in and out.
Yeah, always a problem. Oh, that's a weird noise, isn't it?
Okay. Oh.
No, it's really bad.
It is, isn't it? Hold on a second.
He's breaking up, people. The aliens are coming. Is he still there?
Okay. Whoa.
I don't think it's my end. I think it sounds like it's on your mic. Scratchy mic. It was going so well as well. We just reset a few things here. Are you there?
Yeah.
Is it all scratchy still?
No, it seems okay for now.
Yeah. Okay. Men in Black again. Oh no. There's that scratchy sound again. You're not moving, are you?
No. I have no idea. This happened last week as well. Never happened before. Until last week.
Oh, what happened there? It almost sounds like a radio.
It's not mixer.
I've reset it. I'll reset it again. It's almost like an EVP. No, it's still scratchy. Can't be the mixer. It's almost like you got some interference. Like
It's yeah. It's really odd because it's only in my left ear.
okay. Is it gone now?
It has now.
When you talk loudly, I think.
Oh, I don't know. It's still
No.
really faint.
No, it's still there.
Yeah, no.
Maybe if you turn the cable.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, we just have to put up with it.
Yeah, okay.
Oh. Just move left and right. Yeah, it's not making noise now.
Okay, let's hope for the best.
Bloody minute. Black. Has to be, doesn't it? This
really good case.
Yep.
21 October 2007 by Nick Pope. On 30 and March 31st, 1993, there was a series of UFO sightings in the UK involving over 100 witnesses. Many of these were police officers and military personnel. The UFO also flew directly over 2 RAF bases. What follows is the extraordinary story of what has been dubbed the British UFO mystery. Overview: the first sighting took place on March 30th at around 8:30 p.m. in Somerset. This was followed by a sighting at 9 p.m. in the Quantock Hills. The witness was a police officer who, together with a group of scouts, had seen a craft that he described as looking like 2 Concords flying side by side and joined together. The reports came in thick and fast, and when I arrived at work the following morning I received a steady stream of reports. It was soon clear that I had a major UFO event on my hands. One of the most interesting reports came from a member of the public in Rugeley, Staffordshire, who reported a UFO that he estimated as being 200 meters in diameter. He and other family members told me how they had chased the object in their car and got extremely close to it, believing it had landed in a nearby field. When they got there a few seconds later, there was nothing to be seen. Many of the descriptions related to a triangular-shaped craft, or of the lights perceived as being on the underside of such a craft. Indeed, in an apparent coincidence, these sightings occurred 3 years to the very day after the famous wave of sightings in Belgium that had led to F-16 fighters being scrambled to intercept a UFO being tracked on radar. RAF Cosford. The UFO was seen by a patrol of RAF police based at RAF Cosford. Their official police report, classified Police in Confidence, stated that the UFO passed over the base at great velocity, at an altitude of approximately 1,000 feet. It described 2 white lights with a faint red glow at the rear, with no engine noise being heard. The RAF police report also contained details of a number of civilian UFO sightings that they had been made aware of in the course of making inquiries with other military bases, civil airports, and local police. RAF Shawberry. Later on that night, the meteorological officer at RAF Shawberry saw the UFO. He described to me how it had moved slowly across the countryside towards the base, at a speed of no more than 30 or 40 miles per hour. He saw the UFO fire a narrow beam of light, like a laser, at the ground, and saw the light sweeping backwards and forwards across the field beyond the perimeter fence, as if it were looking for something. He heard an unpleasant low-frequency humming sound coming from the craft, and said he could feel as well as hear this rather like standing in front of a bass speaker. He estimated the size of the craft to be midway between a C-130 Hercules transport aircraft and a Boeing 747. Then he told me that the light beam had retracted in an unnatural way, and that the craft had suddenly accelerated away to the horizon many times faster than a military aircraft. Here was an experienced RAF officer, who regularly saw aircraft and helicopters, telling me about something he said was quite unlike anything he's ever seen in his life. The Mod Party line about UFOs being of no defense significance was looking decidedly shaky. What was I supposed to say to him? I wondered. Don't worry, it was probably just a weather balloon. I corresponded with him recently about this, but, unlike some skeptics, I intend to respect witness confidentiality and won't name him. How many reports? For a number of reasons, UFOs are notoriously underreported. The 2 main factors here are fear of disbelief and/or ridicule, and the fact that many people do not know who to contact with details of their sightings. While there were standing instructions that UFO reports sent to military bases, civil airports, and police stations should be forwarded to the MOD for investigation, this national reporting system did not always work. The case file on the 31st March 1993 UFO incident makes it clear that there were many more sightings than ever reached the department. One throwaway line from a signal reporting how police officers in Tshirt, Cornwall, had seen a UFO stated that the object was seen by other police officers throughout Devon and Cornwall. We can only guess at the number of sightings that went unreported that night. Radar. I launched a detailed investigation into these sightings, working closely with the RAF, colleagues in the Defense Intelligence Staff, and personnel at the Ballistic Missile Early Warning System at RAF Fylingdales. One of the first things that I did was order that radar tapes be impounded and sent to me at MOD main building in Whitehall. The radar data was downloaded onto standard VHS video cassettes and arrived shortly thereafter. I watched it with the relevant RAF specialists who told me that there were a few odd radar returns, but that they were inconclusive. Radar is not an exact science, and in certain circumstances, false returns can be generated. Aircraft. Later, a more formal assessment of the radar data was made. Unfortunately, one of the radar heads was not working on primary radar during the reporting period, so only aircraft working secondary surveillance radar could be seen. But with this and with other checks, what we were able to do was build up a picture of all aircraft and helicopters activity over the UK, so that we could factor them into the investigation and eliminate them from our inquiries if appropriate. RAF Fylingdales and Cosmos 2238. The Ballistic Missile Early Warning System at RAF Fylingdales, with its powerful space tracking radars, was an important part of my UFO investigation. They quickly alerted me to the fact that there had been a re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere of a Russian rocket carrying a communications satellite, Cosmos 2238. We postulated that this was a possible explanation for a cluster of UFO sightings that occurred at around 1:10 a.m. on March 31st. As an interesting footnote, ufologists such as Jenny Randles have previously claimed that some UFOs may be interested in re-entries. Ufologists.
Yeah, do you want to pause that, Paul?
Most ufologists had not even heard about this case.
Yeah, there's a history of UFO events that seem to coincide with re-entries of, well, all kinds of space junk. I'm not really sure why that would be, but Jenny Randall postulated they were kind of hiding, the UFOs were hiding behind that. Do you see what I mean? That they knew that they could get away with an appearance knowing it could be blamed plausibly on something else. I'm not really sure whether I believe that or not, but that's what she came up with anyway.
Mm.
Damn, Mike.
Case until I wrote about it in 1996, in my first book, Open Skies, Closed Minds. One ufologist who had been very closely involved was Doug Cooper. I worked closely with him during the course of my official investigation, as part of a new, more open policy that I had instigated. Some ufologists like Doug had welcomed this, but others, sadly, saw me as a sinister man in black, and refused to have anything to do with the MOD, believing that we were part of a conspiracy to cover up the truth about UFOs. Doug shared with me his own report into the wave of sightings. Like us, he had concluded that the Cosmos 2238 re-entry was the probable explanation for the cluster of sightings at 1:10 a.m. But there were some interesting gems in his report, including a reference to one of the UFO sightings having unnerved cattle in a field, which were reported as having been restless somewhere between midnight and 1 a.m. The witnesses then described their absolute astonishment at seeing all the cows standing in a circular formation in the middle of the field, all completely silent. The British UFO Mystery. On November 1, 2006, Channel 5 showed a 1-hour documentary on this case, entitled The British UFO Mystery. The investigative documentary was part of Channel 5's second Stranger Than Fiction series. The production company, Steel Spider, had adopted an unusual approach when making this documentary. All too often, UFO documentaries rely on an endless series of talking heads, with witnesses telling their stories, followed by believers and skeptics from the world of ufology expressing their contrasting views. Cristie+Red tried a new approach. They obtained the mod's case file on the incident, which ran to 105 pages of documentation, and based the program around that. As I'd led the investigation, they asked me to front the program, giving viewers an unprecedented insight into the methodology of an official mod investigation. The program drew just over 1 million viewers, a strong showing for Channel 5. Ufologists were pleased to see their subject back on one of the national networks at prime time. In September 2007, the popular German TV series Galileo Mysteries devoted an episode to this case. Skeptics soon jumped on the bandwagon, and some lengthy analyses of the case, actually little more than a reproduction of material from the mod case file, appeared, following the broadcast of the Channel 5 documentary. These were conclusion-led and marred by misunderstandings about the way in which the military record time, and the way in which aircraft heights are recorded. Skeptics leapt on the Cosmos 2238 explanation, which Mod had known about at the time, to explain the cluster of 1:10 a.m. sightings, and promptly tried to shoehorn all the other sightings into this, suggesting that witnesses who had seen the UFO at any other time must have got the time wrong, sometimes by several hours. Black projects. A theory often put forward to explain some of the most spectacular UFO sightings is that they might be prototype aircraft or UAVs. Of course, at any time we will be test flying various things that you won't see at the Farnborough Airshow for several years, but the bottom line is that we test fly such things in certain areas, so at least within government we can differentiate between black projects and UFOs. In view of the controversy about Aurora, an alleged hypersonic replacement for the state Route 71 Blackbird, we did, in the case of the March 1993 UFO sightings, raise the issue with the U.S. authorities, through the British Embassy in Washington. Was it possible that something had gone wrong with the normal processes for overflight of another country, and could our UFO sightings be attributable to some U.S. prototype? The answer I got back was extraordinary. The Americans had been having their own sightings of these large, triangular-shaped UFOs, and wanted to know if the RAF might have such a craft, capable of moving from a virtual hover to speeds of several thousand mph in an instant. We wish we had. The interesting thing about this was that somebody in the US was still clearly taking an interest in UFOs, despite the apparent disengagement from the subject in 1969 with the closing down of Project Blue Book. Sadly, a letter to the US Embassy about Aurora was the only document missing from the case file released to Cristie+Red following their FOIA request for documents relating to the March 1993 UFO sightings. Jodrell Bank Observatory. Intriguingly, even the cluster of 1:10 a.m. sightings might not all be explained by the Cosmos 2238 re-entry. The skeptics were torpedoed by Professor Ian Morrison, director of the Jodrell Bank Observatory, and hardly a believer in UFOs, who in speaking about these sightings on the British UFO Mystery said sometimes people see a pattern of lights that stay pretty much in formation for maybe several minutes at a time, and to be honest I don't believe that can be the breakup of space junk or anything else. Those things are short-lived and they all leave streaks, and the relative positions may well change as they travel. Conclusion. Given the mod's no defense significance conclusion on UFOs, it seems fitting to conclude with quotes from mod documents which contradict the usual stance. In a briefing that I prepared for my head of division on April 16, 1993, I wrote, "It seems that an unidentified object of unknown origin was operating in the UK air defense region, without being detected on radar. This would appear to be of considerable defense significance, and I recommend that we investigate further, within MOD, or with the US authorities." My head of division was normally skeptical about the UFO phenomenon, but on this occasion he agreed with my conclusion. His April 22, 1993 brief to the Assistant Chief of the Air Staff one of the UK's most senior RAF officers, stated. In summary, there would seem to be some evidence on this occasion that an unidentified object, or objects, of unknown origin was operating over the UK. This is about as close the mod will ever get to saying that there's more to UFOs than misidentifications or hoaxes. Source and reference.
Are you there?
Paul, I'm going to have to go without the mic.
Why is that? It was working fine before. That's alright, just carry on. You're not as loud though, I don't think. We could probably wrap up now if you want to. We have to leave that one again. What is it?
Not a Bluff Ledge again.
The Red Bluff one again. How long would that take?
Not too long, you know.
Oh well, we'll just carry on then. I am a bit tired myself, and the temperature here is getting hotter. But anytime you want to go.
I actually thought I heard you snoring there, Paul.
Yeah, my nose is blocking up.
Sound. What the hell was up into my mic?
I don't know. It was crackling. You got paranormal activity.
Try it one more time.
Okay. Well, let's do the Red Bluff one then. I think we're finished with this one, aren't we? Unless you want to say anything about it.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, it's...
Oh shit, you sound in the distance. Can we boost you up somehow?
Okay, I'm going to have to invest in a new set of headphones.
Oh no, now you're loud again. So what did you do there?
I've just unplugged.
Oh, just keep it like that then. That's alright. Yeah, okay. I suppose you could use your Bluetooth headset to listen, right? And get one of those free standard mics instead. Directional microphones, they're pretty good. That way
I do like these gaming headsets though. But I don't know what on earth is going on with it. I really don't. And the funny thing is, it happened the same time last week in the show, you know. Worked fine for 2.5 hours and then just decided to go haywire on me. But I can get a new set of them just to eliminate the problem. They're only about £15-20, aren't they?
Well, my headset only cost $30 and come from AliExpress, I think it was. And it's USB, it's digital, so you don't get the usual problem with static and interference, right? Unlike your ones. Like your ones are audio plug-in, right? So you're going to pick up any sort of RF interference there. It might be someone that's transmitting the antenna near you. You know, those ham radios can actually pump in a lot of noise into the air. And it can probably pick up on the connection points of your headset there.
Yeah. Yeah, Tommy said he got a headset for Xbox for $20. So yeah, I think I paid £15-20 for that set, and they've been good for maybe 18 months, 2 years now. And then all of a sudden this has started. But yeah, is it some kind of outside interference? Because funny how it's happened at just about exactly the same time, 2 weeks in a row.
You sound alright, but it's just a wee bit echoey, that's all.
It would be, it would be.
So, let's just carry on anyway. I'm surprised that my shop doesn't sell USB headsets with the logo on it, actually. That would be quite cool. I know some shops do, but I've never seen USB headsets for selling. But yeah, you need to go fully digital, but you are using older Windows 8, aren't you? Not 8.1.
8.1.
Are you using 8.1, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should work then
Yeah.
on USB. Yeah, not sure if you. They keep bringing out new designs and things. The pair I got are very light. The best headset I bought, but it took 3 purchases of headset before you come across one that actually you like.
Yeah, I know.
I'll see if I can find the link that I bought it from AliExpress and send it to you. See if I still got it.
Yeah,
Mind
please
you,
do, yeah.
it might take a few months to get it though with the C19 nonsense. But they
Yeah,
haven't.
well, I don't know. I might be able to get the same one off Amazon and get a next day delivery because I'm going to need something for next Sunday. You can't
Normally,
do that noise in the year.
normally when you rush buy stuff, you wish you waited a wee bit more.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, not sure what my brand is called. Let's see. It's got no logo or anything on it. Just generic. I can look it up though. I have it on the order page. See if it's still available.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been through this before, haven't we? Finding a headset for you that's light.
Yeah. Well, I've been really happy with that one. I just don't understand it. There doesn't seem to be a loose connection. I've tried it in 2 different USB ports.
Sounds like the insert for your microphone. That's what I thought.
The insert for the mic.
Yeah, because the mic plugs in on some of them, and
Yes, it does. Yeah.
it's not fully clicked in. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah. Well, I took that out and put it back in. Yeah, this is what you mean. I think this piece here.
Just
Oh
takes
no, it's fully.
Yeah.
Oh no, that made a nice resounding click then, but
yeah, that's probably fixed it.
without it, I really doubt it.
I'll just carry on then. Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. Red Bluff. Where are you? Where are you? Yeah.
Some of these tabs down. Mr. Red Bluff. Did you take the red bluff or the blue bluff? The blue pill or the red
I don't
pill?
know much about this myself. I just went over it quickly and thought it was interesting, and yeah, it's quite a new case to me. Although it's 1960, isn't it?
One evening around midnight in the summer of 1960, in a usually quiet area of California, two police patrol officers would be witness to an encounter very likely out of this world. Furthermore, several other police officers also witnessed the same incident from different locations. And further still, on the night in question, the nearby U.S. military base, the Red Bluff Air Station, would confirm the presence of an anomalous object on their radar. Depiction of the 1960 Red Bluff incident. Strange then, that only hours later the same military base would deny such a confirmation. Nor would they investigate the sighting. In fact, only because of an independent investigation would the military put forth their eventual explanation for the incident. An explanation that, as we shall see, is not only inaccurate, but outright factually impossible. With that in mind, then, why did they feel the need to retract themselves from the sighting so quickly? Was it nothing more than official policy? What of the radar operator? Was the confirmation a mistake on his part? Or was the U.S. military involved in covering up the incident, as is the accusation of so many other similar sightings? An oblong object surrounded by a glow. Just before midnight on the August 13, 1960, California Highway Patrol officers, Charles Carson and Stanley Scott, were cruising along Hogue Road near the town of Corning when a sudden light came crashing out of the night sky. Their immediate reaction was that an airliner was about to crash to the ground. They stopped their patrol vehicle and stepped out of the car so as to be able to locate and alert emergency crews to the crash site. However, as the scene unfolded before them, it became apparent that it wasn't a plane crashing to the ground. In fact, whatever it wasn't about to crash, but was under some kind of intelligent control. The object moved in complete silence, descending to around 200 feet from the ground. Then, it suddenly moved in the opposite direction before ascending to a distance of around 500 feet. There it stopped and hovered silently. In his police teletype report, Carson would state the object was in front of them and surrounded by a glow making the round or oblong object visible. At each end of the craft were definite red lights. Every now and then 5 white lights would shine between the two constant red glows. As the two officers watched the object move once more in the air, it performed aerial feats that were actually unbelievable. Deputy Clarence Fry at Tahoma County Sheriff's Office would receive the radio report from the two officers. He would contact operators at the Red Bluff U.S. Air Force radar station. To his astonishment, Red Bluff would soon report back that they had indeed got an unidentified object on their radar screens. Red lights sweeping the skies and ground of California. Meanwhile, officers Carson and Scott maintained their position near their vehicle. According to Carson's report, the object would approach their patrol car on 2 occasions. On each occasion the object turned and swept the area with a huge red light. When Scott would direct the red light from the patrol car towards the object, however, it would move away from them. From their position, they would observe the object sweep this red beam across the skies and to other locations below around 6 times. When the strange craft began to move away and towards the east, the two officers jumped back into their cars and followed. However, as they came up to the Vena Plains fire station, a second object appeared ahead and approached the first craft. Both of them hovered, sweeping their red beams across the skies and towards the ground. They would bring their vehicle to a stop once more and watch the proceedings. They would continue to watch until both of these mysterious crafts moved away to the east once more, this time disappearing over the horizon. It was now after 2 a.m. Upon returning to their base at Tahoma County Sheriff's Office, they would learn that 2 other officers, as well as the serving night jailer, also witnessed something strange. Their descriptions all matched with what Carson and Scott witnessed out on the lonely California highway. Corning, California. Sudden military denial. The following morning, in reality only several hours later, Carson and Scott would drive to Red Bluff Air Station. Their intention was to add their report to that of the military's. as well as to speak with the radar operator, who had confirmed the sighting to Deputy Fry at the sheriff's office. However, when they arrived at the base, the Air Force would now claim they hadn't seen the object on radar. And there was no military investigation into the sighting. According to them, there was no sighting.
Yeah,
With the military essentially washing their hands of the affair, Carson would take it upon himself to file a report with the National Investigations Committee.
Yeah, so NICAP was still going then. Of course, they would have been in 1960. Yeah, so how many times have you heard that the military confirmed they had something on radar, then they quickly retract the statement? How many times I've heard that in cases, I've forgotten now. Of course, you have somebody maybe fairly young and naive on the control at the time, and yeah, they confirm it, and then, you know, they get a little bollock in them. We're told, look, you know, don't go telling people stuff like that. You're only going to bring us a whole load of attention. So, yeah, they retracted that statement. Not a surprise. Right, a bit long, Paul. It's a good case.
Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, NICAP, in November 1960. It was from this course of action that the sighting remains in the public arena today. In this report, further details of the encounter would emerge, as well as some of the personal reflections of the experience from Carson himself. Remember, a trained police officer with experience in taking details in the most pressure-packed situations. For example, it was Carson's feeling that there was definite intelligence to, or behind, the object. Whenever he would take the car closer to it, the object seemed aware of us, and consequently moved away. During the course of the sighting, Carson determined that when they remained motionless, and stopped the car, the object would instead come to them. Incidentally, whenever it did approach, they would experience radio interference. Lastly, the shape of the object was like that of a football. And the glow most definitely came from inside the object, and was not a reflection of other lights. This last point is particularly interesting, especially when considering the official explanation. Obvious holes in the official explanation. According to the U.S. Air Force, who were forced to respond to NICAP's investigation, the two police officers witnessed a refraction of the planet Mars and the bright stars, Aldebaran and Betelgeuse. They would claim temperature inversions had caused the glowing craft the two officers believed they had seen. They further claimed that a layer of thick smoke from a nearby forest fire contributed to the bizarre conditions. Interestingly, and perhaps tellingly, when NICAP would point out the planet and stars involved would have been below the horizon at the time of the sighting, the Air Force simply changed the star to Capella. This too would have been impossible. Capella would have risen in the skies, and not disappeared below the horizon as the objects did. Needless to say, Officers Carson and Scott rejected these assertions outright. Both of the officers had extensive military backgrounds, with Carson serving in the Air Force, and Scott serving as a paratrooper in the Korean War. Carson would state, "Both of us are aware of the tricks light play on the eyes during darkness." Both would take this into account during and after the sighting. Incidentally, when an independent check of the meteorological records was conducted, there was no evidence that temperature inversion could have occurred on the night in question. Perhaps also of interest are the several sightings, which occurred in the days following the incident. What was the apparent sudden interest in this otherwise quiet area of California? And whose interest was it? Sketch of the Sunnyvale sighting. The 1965 Rex Heflin photograph incident. Just over 5 years later, 30 minutes after noon on the August 3, 1965 in Santa Ana area of California, Orange County Highway Inspector Rex Heflin was in his vehicle when he witnessed a hat-shaped object with a dome on the top part of it hovering over the road. After snapping to his senses, he grabbed his Polaroid camera from the seat of the car and quickly snapped 3 photographs, all of which captured the strange object perfectly. He would then take a 4th picture of a black smoke ring, left in the sky in the immediate aftermath of its sudden departure. Helfin would also notice several other intriguing details concerning the sighting. For example, his radio that allowed him to communicate with his employer's main base would suddenly stop working, meaning he could not report the sighting as it happened. As soon as the incident was over, the radio would come back to life. He would also recall how the craft, which you can see in the picture below, had a rotating band of light on its underside. Does this picture show a real UFO? Life would remain quiet for Helfin for almost 2 months following the encounter. Then, however, the Santa Ana Register would publish one of the pictures in their September 20th edition. Not long after, National Newswire Services would pick up the story. It wasn't long before experts at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory were testing the photograph in order to prove or disprove its authenticity. Their findings would essentially suggest the picture was genuine and not the result of manipulation or tampering. Despite this, though, the United States Air Force would claim the incident was nothing more than a hoax. Following this initial round of verbal punches from each side of the respective argument, things would take an ominous turn. A highly credible case of a structured, craft-like UFO.
Yeah, when they're talking about the Air Force here, called it a hoax, it's very unlikely a couple of police officers would perpetrate a hoax. And of course, this wasn't it was the Air Force, but I think what they should have been saying here was Project Blue Book, which was run by the Air Force. And of course, Blue Book was still around until 1969. So obviously, it's Blue Book that's looked into this, and wow, they put it down as a hoax. Geez, they had some dubious explanations for some of these cases. They really did. Oh well. There's 701 cases they couldn't explain out of 12,000 and something. You know, if they'd done it properly, I think that number would have been well over 1,000, not 701. But interestingly, what Blue Book did as well, a lot of the cases of unknowns were just like lights in the sky and stuff, you know. Nothing spectacular about them at all. So, yeah. And of course, the best cases weren't even going to Blue Book. They were being circumnavigated somewhere else. Anyway, carry on with this, Paul. We'll finish off.
UFO. Perhaps of even more interest was the implication that unknown parties obtained negatives of the pictures from Heflin under false pretenses, claiming they were from the North American Air Defense Command. It would seem the reason for obtaining these negatives was to deliberately make them appear as though they had been faked. This was achieved by inserting a line mark, which was then discovered upon later analysis, and so declaring the picture a forgery and a hoax. However, intense investigation of this apparent line mark, which was claimed to be a string attached to a much smaller object than a flying saucer, would reveal it to be the only anomalous part of the picture. In short, it was perfectly obvious to researchers, independent, no less, that the line mark was inserted after the picture had been taken in an attempt to discredit Helfin. Furthermore, and corroborating these findings of tampering with the negatives, copies of the original photographs, as held by NICAP and the regional newspapers that reported on the case, clearly showed no line mark or anything that might be construed as a string. In short, it is largely agreed that the Rex Heflin pictures are genuine. Veteran UFO researcher Richard Hall would state the pictures were highly credible and a thoroughly investigated case that meets all the criteria for significant evidence of a real structured, craft-like UFO.
So
check out the video below that looks at this apparent picture in a little more detail. The Sunnyvale sightings. Whether there is a connection or not is open to debate, but a similar nighttime sighting in California took place 2 years earlier on September 26, 1963. It was around 4:20 a.m. when Sunnyvale police officer Galen Anderson, would observe a strange craft while carrying routine night patrols of the streets of Sunnyvale. A sudden radio call from other officers on patrol would alert him to look for something untoward. He stopped his patrol car and then, seconds later, a huge object moving from east to west at an elevation angle of 45 degrees filled his vision. It was moving at around the speed of a propeller-driven craft. The craft was made of a gray metallic material, which was brightly lit up along the edge. As Anderson continued to watch, the UFO made a sudden turn and disappeared at a much faster pace. The whole incident had lasted around 45 seconds. 5 minutes before Anderson's sighting, at 4:15 a.m., in the nearby town of Monte Vista came another sighting. Supervisor at the Permanente Cement Company, George Scott, heard one of his workers calling him. When he came over to the excited worker, he moved his focus upwards. That's when he saw the glowing craft moving upwards into the sky for around 60 seconds. Another police officer, Lieutenant Hogg, also witnessed the same craft only minutes after Anderson. Were these alien crafts over California? A state that experiences more UFO sightings than many others? Or might they have been the result of secret military technology experiments? Only further study, research, and pressure for disclosure will begin to answer such questions. The sightings in this part of California, however, would continue. The 1964 McKinley Avenue incident. Just short of 10 months later, on the June 2, 1964, came another mysterious sighting over Sunnyvale. At a little after 10:30 p.m., Mrs. Holmes was driving home along McKinley Avenue when she saw strange-looking objects hovering over the picturesque neighborhood below. She would recall that the object was cigar-shaped, although from some angles it appeared as though it might be the shape of a disc. She would estimate it was around 150 feet above the seemingly unaware populace below, and was approximately the size of a standard 20-square-foot living room. The exterior was of a dark material. So dark that she struggled to keep it in steady sight against the dark night sky. From the underside of the craft was a rectangular, flat, box-like area illuminating a similar-sized area on the ground. Bizarrely, around the edges of this illuminated rectangle was what seemed similar to fluttering flags. Similar to those one might find at a service station, or even a car salesman's court. You can see a sketch of the underside below. Sketch of the UFO at McKinley Avenue. The witness would further state the craft itself remained still while hovering. The underside, though, remained in constant motion and persistently active. Whether the craft was searching for something below or not, she wasn't sure. She would continue to watch the craft as she moved along the road. A little slower now than before, she would keep the aerial anomaly in her sight. A perfectly clear California evening. Despite the surreal nature of the moment, Mrs. Holmes managed to continue on to her home, arriving safely several minutes after first noticing the strange lights. She rushed from the vehicle almost before killing the engine, such was the rush to get inside. She ran straight to find her husband to inform him of the strange object hovering over the neighborhood. He stood and followed his wife without question, eager to see this mysterious vehicle for himself. It had started to move off towards San Jose by the time the pair arrived outside. It would remain, however, clearly visible for some time.
What are you saying?
Oh, there's something extremely strange going on here.
I heard a strange sound, like someone talking. Hello?
Hold on, it's automatically, without me even turning it on, gone through the Bluetooth speaker.
I can hear talking of some kind. I don't know if it's me or you or feeding back.
I don't know what it was. It's really strange.
It almost sounds like EVP. I think his Bluetooth is the problem.
Yeah, okay, it's coming back through the computer now.
Yeah, it sounds alright now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was some weird sound.
That was really odd. There's no way that Bluetooth speaker should switch itself on.
You got paranormal.
Time.
Jeez.
The couple watched the object disappear into the distance
Men and
before it was
ghosts.
joined by two identical crafts. They would then vanish out of sight. The pair would estimate that the sighting, from the moment Mrs. Bruce first noticed the strange anomaly, to be around 10 minutes. Furthermore, the weather was perfectly clear at the time of the sighting. This, the witnesses would dismiss any notions of a mistaken sightings of a conventional aircraft, or of some kind of weather phenomena. So, as we can see, the state of California has a long and persistent history with UFO sightings and encounters. And what's more, that history is being written every day with sightings remaining higher than average. Check out the short video below. It looks at some of these apparent connections between the US government and UFO sightings.
Okay. Got to the
Yeah,
end.
that's it. Yeah, so
I
there's
managed to
multiple cases on that page. I didn't realise.
Yeah. So this is the headset I got here. And never been a problem.
Oh, I don't want more of them again.
It's really light. Really nice. They're very comfortable to wear. You should at least give it a try. They're not too expensive. I got this one here, the Pro.
It's not that. I'd rather ones that plug into my ears, you know.
Well, these are very comfortable. I wouldn't dismiss it. You could wear them for 3 hours, no problem. They're almost like wearing foam on your ears. You don't know they're there. Plus, you get the option of being audio or USB. So you can use them like regular headsets or use them for digital on the computer if you got Windows. And they light up red as well. Oh.
Yeah, hook them up really via
USB.
So got some guy explain it.
Or something like that. Once you get it downloaded, this is going to pop game for everything. 7.1 surround sound is a real thing. And stuff, and I got a short cable here, so I didn't want to yank my controller out of the cable. Since these are
I've posted a link on the side, so maybe check it out. But you normally just click on the first one here and say from China. But you probably get it from Spain. That would be closer to you, would it?
Yeah, that should take around about a week, but I don't know with the current situation.
Except for Spain can't deliver to New Zealand, it says there, but it should be alright for UK. So, yeah, I reckon it will take 13 to 20 days to get them. That's, it'll be well worth giving them a try, right? It'll be the same as what I've got.
Unless I can get the same model in the UK, it's possible.
Well, just buy it through AliExpress. You just have to type in your credit card. It's not too hard. It's just you should get off Amazon because they shafted censorship, right? But yeah, that's the pair I bought, and the best headset I've had for a while, actually.
Okay.
Comes with lots of cables and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm not too sure what the difference is, but the Pro one is what I got, which is the first one. And they got these ones here, which has like a same type of headset, but it's got a different thing in the cable here. But I don't think it's got surround sound, and I don't think it's got USB. Is it? No USB on these ones. So you're best with the Pro one. It gives you everything. Gives you the best of all. I don't know why you want ones inserted into your ear, actually.
Well, you just don't know they're there. That's why I've been using those for a long time now.
Well, you could always buy it, and if you don't like it, give it away to a Christmas present, because they are really decent headsets. Just listening to music.
Yeah.
Well, you're not heard any poor quality from mine, so I've had it for a year now.
No. Yeah.
They used to be $70, I reckon. So
your sound has always been good. I've never heard. You're always crystal clear, you know.
Yeah. Oh well. You know, I spent $100 on a pair, and it wasn't as good as this headset. They're very heavy, and they didn't have USB properly for digital sound. So, but you can see it's got 4.8 out of 5. So, and 226 purchases, right? Well, actually 226 reviewed it out of 400, so there you go. But yeah. But as I said, I closed it down now. We got year 51 here.
Yeah.
And, but we're looking at the hat, and I don't think his come out that bad. Here we go. I still got links to it here. This is what Plexx got for a mug, right? Look how bad printed it is. I don't think Area 51's... He was like the first one to get it, I think, wasn't he? Oh no, who was the first one to get something? No, he was the first one to get it delivered, yeah. So I don't think yours would have come out badly printed like this. Apparently Plexx said it come from New Jersey, was shipped from New Jersey, so it's got to be printed in America. But who would ship something as bad like that? And look at the hat here, it's got holes in transfer, like they peeled it off and it didn't stick on properly, right? You wouldn't ship that to someone. I'm pretty sure you would...
that should never have gone out.
Yeah, I would have thought Area 51, if you got something not like that, like originally wanted, to that, he would have told me about it. Yeah, so, yeah, this be good to get a picture of your hats, compare it. Obviously no quality control there just before Christmas. Anyway. That's it, I can wrap up on that note, I guess. Headsets and merchandise.
Yeah, well, I'll have a look at on and see what's there.
Were you going to send it to Area 51? Hang on, he's going to send us a picture of his hat so we can actually look at it. Are you going to put it on Discord? Put it on Discord if you're on Discord. Don't see you logged in there though. Post it in members only lobby. And then I can just copy it and show people here how it should come out. Hopefully yours is not as bad as Plexx's. So yeah, we could just hang around while he's sort of going to send us the picture. I'll just open that up again. So not sure if people can read what's going on there. But I will paste the safe chat like I always do under the pinned comment on YouTube when it's done. And people can get access to the links we used in the show. And hopefully we hear from Charles later on or tomorrow, because we don't know what's going on there. Robert might have to phone the phone. I don't see you on Discord still. Unless you're in invisible mode. So, what are we planning for next week's show? Ahead of, or we're waiting for those photographs?
I don't know what you've got planned.
No, what you got planned for the next cases?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at look all through the bookmark, see what I've got here. Because the stuff that I've bookmarked here that we still haven't got around to doing. But I'm always keeping my ear to the ground for anything new, you know. Yeah, I've got a little bit of stuff here that we haven't done before, but I'll add to that for next week. Sure.
Let's see. There was the Red Star one would be a good one to recap on. It's a really old case.
Charlie Red Star, the Canadian incident. Yes.
Yeah, that was one Grant Cameron was famous for.
Yeah, the one Grant Cameron covered in his book, Charlie Red Star. Well, I can tell you now, information. I had a damn good search. I spent an hour or so looking for just one good article.
Oh, shit.
On those incidents. It was actually 1975 going into 1976. So it was like a wave of sightings that happened over a period of several months. There was another thing that was going on that, well, seem to have found out now. There was some kind of nuclear testing going on in the area, but my God, you try and find good information on it. It's really difficult.
That's the problem with old cases, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know, because some of them are still really well publicised.
I think he's got it on his... Grant Cameron's got it on his website, presidentialufos.com. But there were some photographs taken of it. Weren't terribly great, though.
Oh, jeez.
What are you doing? The Men in Black have got him. We're still waiting for those photos. I see he's logged in now. Hit the plus sign and just browse to the ping or JPEG. The Men in Black audio off. Let's bring up the Men in Black.
That is really odd.
Yeah, the Men in Black, I got you. You didn't do a Windows update, did you?
No.
I don't think 8.1 updates anymore, does it?
Paul, my Bluetooth speaker is just turning itself on when it feels like it. And it's taking the sound away from the computer speakers onto the Bluetooth. And while that's on, I can't speak.
I heard it.
I can still hear you, but I can't speak.
Alright.
Whoa, it's really spooky.
Can you snap close up? Off hat. Yeah, I thought. So Area 51 has sent me. I'm wearing the hat and hoodie, but
okay.
I thought there might be a closer picture. Let's see if I can send it. He sent it as a DM, so I'm not too sure if I can share it or not. I'll give it a try. Here we go. Right, we've got the Men in Black playing, have we? And make sure that stopped. Let's see, is it coming up? Oh yeah, it's working. But I told him it'd be good if he posted it in the lobby anyway, then everybody can see it on Discord there.
Okay.
So yeah, let's
top
see if
looks good.
is there any holes in the transfers though? It looks like it's still got that whiteness over it though, isn't it? Bit hard to tell.
I don't know. It's not on a. It's you need the high resolution to see it properly.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's got the holes in the logo like his one, because maybe that's a problem with the printing. Let's see, he's got some other ones here.
You need to take a close up of the actual logo, maybe with the camera on.
Yeah,
Mode.
That's what I said to him. Maybe this one's better. Let's have a look. It's brighter. So it kind of doesn't look right there either. Looks like it's got some whiteness over top of it, right? I don't think that should be there. Mind you, it's not terribly sharp picture. And the t-shirts and hoodies always come out good though. It's that reflection in the mirror, obviously. Apart from that, he sent another one here, but still.
Oh no!
Here we go again. Robert and his Bluetooth. Maybe that's why they call it Bluetooth. Still doesn't look terribly great though, that logo, compared to what it should look like. Compared to if you have a look at the top that Charles gave, it was better quality than that on the t-shirt. Where's his one? Further up in the member comments here somewhere. We looked at it last time, didn't we? On my show, here it goes. Copy link. Oh, Robert, what are you up to? So if you compare that one, looks super sharp and proper, doesn't it? On the hoodie there. Looks okay, but yeah, the hat doesn't look terribly good to me. Looks like it's washed out, see? What's those little black dots around there? Should be better than that, I would say. Should be the same as the t-shirts and the hoodies. Because each of them obviously has slightly different printing things. Might need to complain if it's that bad. Okay. I'm not sure what Robert's doing. Hat emblem looked like it was over 10 years old. Yeah. I would have complained about it. Looks like it doesn't work too well on mug either. So you compare that to Plexx's, I think it's very similar, but not as bad. But I don't know. It's not right, is it? Well, I got one coming on a travel muck, And see, that looks like it's brand spanking new there. Look at that. That looks really crisp. That looks really good. And you think it'd be printed smaller, it'd be higher quality versus making it bigger for a t-shirt. It would lose quality, you would think. What the hell are you doing, Robert? You keep dropping in and out. You with us or not? Where was Plexx's one again? I closed it down. Because you got two hats done, so were they equally as bad as well? Where was his hat one? That one there, I think. And that's the mug. See, looks exactly the same. What the hell? There's all that crap around the outside here, look. Even it's got lines through it here. Looks really bad. I don't think yours looks that bad. But still, still looks very faded. It's almost like it's blurred, isn't it? Maybe you need to take a closer picture of it. Anyway, I suppose we should wrap up. Looks like Robert's having trouble. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can post it and member. Let's see if I can. Is that your one? Yeah. Not sure if it'll go. Oh yeah, it will. I'll post them there and lobby for people to have a look at. I'm a wee bit disappointed in that, actually, myself. What's Robert doing? That's it. All on. Yep. Well, better wrap up. Yeah. Okay, we better go and we'll say goodnight. And we'll see how good my Merc comes when it arrives. But I hope it's not going to be faded like that, because I'll be really annoyed. Hopefully Robert can get his stuff sorted out for next weekend. He needs to get the same pair of headset, I think. That Bluetooth needs a little turn off switch, kill switch. It turns it off completely. It's probably like the baby monitors. It's probably like, Bluetooth is like the easiest way to hack a system, right, through Bluetooth. That's why you don't leave it turned on your phone unless you really have to, because they can hack you. But anyway, better wrap up here and process the video and let people that missed out on it have a watch of it once it's uploaded to YouTube and BitChute. Okay, thanks for joining us, everyone, and let's see how it goes now. Looking good. Good night. Need to end.